Ferries trickling in from the back. There was a ceremony, a celebration of sorts, directly behind us at Queen City Coffee / Sindell's Bookstore, commemorating Booker versus Plainfield Board of Education, and they are just coming in now and settling in. So I don't think that they are, well, we have our clerks standing up. The notice requirement provided for the open public meeting law has been satisfied. Notice was properly given. Said notice having been transmitted to the Courier News on Tuesday, January 6, 2025, as well as posted on the city's website. Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Council members Briggs Jones.
Present.
Cherry.
Present.
Graham.
Present.
McCray. Wyatt.
Present.
Vice President Sessoms.
Present.
Council President Hockaday.
Present.
All members present and a quorum.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
Humbly we ask God, the giver of peace and the lover of charity, to give the entire family of nations true agreement with his will, and to grant the light of his spirit on all those who work for justice and peace. Amen.
Amen. We have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 14th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, motion carries. We will first move to communications from the mayor. Your Honor.
Thank you. Good evening, good evening. Good evening again to council, cabinet, everyone, and of course, Business Administrator Abby Levinson. We thank the members of the public for this accommodation. This is the 60th anniversary of Booker versus Plainfield Board of Education, in which there were 28 families in the city of Plainfield that brought cause to help integrate the Plainfield Public Schools. It is the 60th anniversary, so we just acknowledged and did a celebration of that across the street, and we came over here so that the council, the mayor's proclamation and the council resolution can be read. After we do that, then we're going to take a picture, which will take a few moments because some of our elders range from age, the original plaintiffs, the parents at the time, range from age 90 to 102. So I'm asking now, and I appreciate your accommodation, as we memorialize this history that helped change the city of Plainfield and the outcomes for children of color in this town. And again, I'll revisit because some of you weren't across the street. I came in with the administration in 2014. Mayor Adrian O'Mapp is the education mayor. He had an education commission, and one of our charges was in 2015 to honor the 50th anniversary of Booker, and that was in 2025. And, you know, thanks be to the creator, we still have 4 of the original elders with us and their family members. So out of the 28 families, we have representatives with us this evening, 12 representatives of those families. And they'll be designated by, when they come in, you'll see they'll have flower or corsages with them and their family members, and they'll have name tags. And you know, you can't move forward and know where you're going unless you know where you've been. And Plainfield, you know, from 1963 to 2023 is a very different place because of the work that we've done to celebrate all of us being here and how it can work when we all work together. So on behalf of that, whenever we've recognized this momentous occasion in the past, we focus on Booker et al., but we wanted to memorialize in this 60th year all the names of all the families because we've done the research and we were able to secure it. Mr. Booker always said there were other families, but we just didn't have the documents. So we were able to research and secure the documentation and have the original court case. And there are 28 families here. Mayor, how do you want to proceed? Do you want to read the whole thing or?
I'm just here to support you.
And I always say that. He always lets me do this. So I'm gonna read the first line, and then I'm just gonna go through the names of the families.
Yeah.
Ashe. So we can speak their names into this universe, and so they're forever memorialized in this time and in this place. Recognizing the families of Booker versus Plainfield Board of Education, whereas the City of Plainfield proudly recognizes the families who courageously stood for justice and equality in the landmark case Booker versus Plainfield Board of Education on its 60th anniversary. Whereas in 1965, a group of determined Plainfield families, led by plaintiff Charles F. Booker and supported by other local parents, challenged the Plainfield Board of Education, asserting that racial segregation and inequality in the city's public schools violated the constitutional rights of African American students. And whereas the families' bold actions reflected the growing civil rights movement across the nation and affirmed that every child deserves equal access to quality education, regardless of race or neighborhood. Their pursuit of justice before the courts not only brought attention to the inequities within the Plainfield school system, but also contributed to the broader fight for educational fairness and racial integration in New Jersey. Whereas the New Jersey Supreme Court's ruling went beyond the federal desegregation standards, settling a powerful precedent that influenced communities across the state, the courage, resilience, and conviction of these families continue to inspire generations of Plainfield residents, serving as a powerful reminder of the role ordinary citizens can play in shaping a more equitable and inclusive society. And whereas the families that participated in this landmark and historic action were Charles B. Booker, minor, by Charles F. Booker, his father; John H. Carter III and Jane D. Carter, minors, by John H. Carter, their father; Renee E. Cherry, minor, by Mrs. Mary E. Cherry, her mother; William Cole Jr., a minor, by Mr. and Mrs. William Cole, his parents; Denise Cook and Jacqueline Cook, minors, by Mrs. Norma E. Cook, their mother; Isaac Danner Jr., a minor, by Isaac Danner Sr., his father; Cynthia N. Davis and Rodolphus Davis III, minors, by Mrs. Nanny Bell Davis, their mother; Jeffrey Davis, a minor, by Mrs. Bernice Davis, his mother; Craig Stanley Evans, Dirk Keith Evans, Lynn Roxanne Evans, minors, by Stanley Evans, their father; Hannah C. Ford, a minor, by Mrs. Carl S. Ford, her mother; Rodney J. Franklin and Gregory Franklin, minors, by Junius Franklin, their father; Ward Grimes and Maurice Grimes, minors, by Mrs. Lenora Chambers, their guardian; Samuel C. Howell, Jr., Marcella D. Howell, Raphael C. Howell, and Cheryl A. Howell, minors, by Samuel C. Howell, Sr., their father; Clarence E. Nelson, minor, by Mr. and Mrs. Clarence Nelson, his parents; Norman Nichols and Robert Nichols, minors, by Ralph Wise, their guardian; Bridget Page, Kim Page, Patrick Page, minors, by Mrs. Inez Page, their mother; Angela Phillips, a minor, by Mr. and Mrs. Lincoln Phillips, her parents; Carlton D. Price, Carla D. Price, minors, by Calvin D. Price, their father; Candy Quarles and Robin Quarles, minors, by Miss Marilou Quarles, their mother. Linda M. Ray, Calvin Ray, Shelvin F. Ray, and Gary N. Ray, minors, by Clarence E. Ray, their father. Julius A. Shell, Jr., and Linda Renee Shell, minors, by Mrs. Ruth G. Shell, their mother. Christina Snell, a minor, by Mr. and Mrs. John Snell, her parents. John Emery Tucker, a minor, by Anthony, his father. Mary Van Blake, Nancy Van Blake, and Claire Van Blake, minors, by Mr. and Mrs. Seymour Van Blake, parents. Stephen G. Whetstone, a minor, by Freeman Whetstone, his parent. Gail Winifred Wiggs, Dwight Lamont Wiggs, and A. Ross Brent Wiggs, minors, by Mr. and Mrs. Winifred Wiggs, their parents. Thomasina Yulee, Antonia Yulee, and Eugenia Yulee, minors, by Mrs. Laura L. Yulee, their mother. Wanda M. Young and Florida E. Young, minors, by Mrs. Esther L. Young, their mother. Where it is incumbent upon the City of Plainfield to honor and remember the families and individuals who stand for equality and help to pave the way for progress in public education, now therefore be proclaimed, I, Adrian O. Mapp, Mayor of the City of Plainfield, do hereby recognize the families of Booker versus Board of Education of Plainfield, New Jersey, and commend them for their enduring legacy of courage, justice, and advocacy for equal opportunity in education. Let this proclamation stand as a permanent acknowledgement of their historic contribution to civil rights and educational advancement of our community and our nation. Signed by Adrian O. Mapp, Mayor.
This is a very fitting occasion for us to recognize these families. We all know of Booker v. Board of Education, never really having the full scope of what that case really meant, and not knowing the many families that were a part of that landmark decision here in the city of Plainfield and in the state. And so to all of the families that are assembled here, to Mr. Booker, to the Booker family, and to the Cole, Carter, Van Blake, and the many other families that are here, we appreciate all that you have done in transforming the landscape of education here in the city of Plainfield for the benefit of all of Plainfield. Because we know that when there's diversity, when everyone is included, when blacks and whites and Asians and Latinos, when we all get to sit with each other, when we all share the same classrooms, the experiences that we have inform each other and help us to become better human beings. And so the work that you did in this Booker, the Board of Education, will stand forever reminding us of those very dark days in our city and in our nation. And so we owe you a great debt of gratitude. And we thank you on the behalf of all of the people of our great Queen City. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, I've asked you before, it'll take us a few minutes to stage this picture, so I appreciate everyone's, just give us a few moments. I need 4 chairs, so Claire and Raylan, I'm gonna need those chairs right there. Let's put these here. Because you're gonna be in the picture. Mr. Cole, you have your mom come up here. Ms. Davis. Let's get our original signers here. Together combined, folks, I don't know, they run from age 102 to like 90-something. So let's put her in the center, that picture. And I'm waiting for Miss Davis and Ms. Bernice Davis. She should be coming in the other way. And then Bill, okay, yep. Oh, we need chair. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I need four, Mr. No, I need like 4 chairs, 3 chairs. Yeah, real quick, I need one for Mr. Booker. And Ms. Davis. I didn't realize they were connected. My apologies, my apologies. Okay, thank you. Okay, then yes, that would be best. Mr. Booker, we're gonna put you right here. Thanks, All right. So they're gonna need to be a little snug, because folks are gonna have to get behind them. Okay, I think that's good. And, yes, ma'am. 2, 3, and Nanny Bell, yes? So we have one more. So the rest of the plaintiffs, Earl, I need you to help stage this real quick. Would all the legacy families come fall in? And Ms. Davis, I'm gonna put her right here. Really? Oh, okay. So, yes, ma'am. I got it. Okay. Okay, legacy families fill in. Everybody else fill in, please. Say what? And go behind. This is a picture for the elected officials as well. So that's council members, please. Deb, you want me to picture? Okay. All legacy family members coming in.
You get that chair for
No, we can get a chair.
right there.
Another right here. There's one right here. Yep. So everybody who's filling in, come in on this side, because we're gonna put Ms. Hendricks right there, so there's a space. If y'all would just fill in. Yes, come on in. Y'all legacy family, come on. You grandchildren, get on to the back. Yes, you want to go ahead. And elected.
We've been in tighter places, guys.
There you go. Yeah. I need y'all to fill in and step back. Step back.
We ain't seen.
I'm sorry. All right, y'all. Yeah, I think I got 5. So we had gotten 4 for the original signing. They're a little wet at the bottom. I'm so sorry. You're welcome. Sure, you're wet at the bottom.
Flowers now.
Yeah, I know. Oh. Ms. Booker, we must have messed yours. I left them over there. Let me get the other one for you. Because I wanted to designate the 4 adults. Yeah, right? Oh, here it is. The roses are in here. Those are there. Thank you. Best laid plan. Best laid plans. Oh, it's a Parks and Recreation production. Oh, I appreciate everybody's accommodation. You know, it's just a celebration. I so appreciate it. This is what they're pleased with. Yeah, the wet at the bottom. All right, let's figure ourselves in this picture somewhere. All right, Earl. Make us look fabulous. Now, this is historic.
Stand up. Keyword to the camera.
3, 2, 1.
Eyes open.
Power to the people.
All power to all power to all the people. All the elected officials, everybody's visible, Earl. We need to stand on the chair. Good.
3, 2, 1.
I heard that. We have it? We got the shot Mr. Mayor, as always, thank you for all my little projects. Thank you so much.
Make sure we remember everyone.
Here we go. Thank you for holding the chair. Thank you, John.
We're going to take a 2-minute recess just to allow our dignitaries to decide if they want to stay for the proceedings this evening. Okay, we will, oh, just in time. All right, we will move to discussion items. Do we have someone that's going to speak on best practices for inventory? Or do we? Yes. Okay, go right ahead. Floor is yours.
Best practices is really a survey that's completed by the municipalities on what practices they've implemented. And the score achieved determines whether aid would be given or withheld. The state looks for a score of 32 and above to give 100% of aid. And the city's score this year was 41, so the city would not be losing any aid, or no aid would be withheld from the city.
Good. Okay, thank you for that. We have ordinances MC 2025-39 through MC 2025-45, which are scheduled for the public hearing and final passage for the regular meeting as advertised. We now move on to resolutions. Legislative body items 390-25 to 392-25. Do you have a consensus to add these to the voting meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Those shall be added to the voting meeting. Next, the business administrator items. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. We have 3 items for your consideration this evening. The first is a resolution recognizing tomorrow as Veterans Day, and I encourage everybody to come out to our program at the high school at 9:30, where we're going to be hanging our Hometown Heroes banners. The second resolution we have is a shared service agreement between the city and the County of Union for EMS services. They have been serving as one of our EMS providers for about 2 years now. And in 2025 alone, just the first 10 months of 2025, they responded to 2,447 calls with an average response time of 6 minutes and 50 seconds. So this is a resolution seeking to enter into this agreement. And the third one is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a DCA grant for our operating budget. This is $956,000 that was left over from a previous grant that we received, and the mayor went down to the state to advocate for this to be allowed to be put into our operating budget to offset any tax increase and to lessen the burden for residents. And so they granted that request, and this is that resolution.
Okay, any questions from council members regarding these BA items?
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Councilman Cherry.
For resolution R394-25, so for $250,000, do we have full access to their unit, the Union County unit? Is that like, how many staff members do we have access to?
They have their
Or
truck.
personnel?
They have their truck here.
Okay.
So it's not like, we've always had mutual aid from them, but this is separate and apart. They're stationed at the fire department, and their rig is actually situated in Plainfield.
How many rigs? Is it only one, or?
They have one rig here because we also have JFK.
And how many personnel?
I believe they have 4 people, but they rotate, obviously.
So is it 4
It's 2 per rig.
per shift?
Per shift, yes. But they do have people here who are on site to do like data and sit in the fire department and, help with dispatch.
And you said the response time is 6 minutes?
6 minutes and 56 seconds is the average response time of the 2,500 or so calls.
And were there any other options that the administration looked into?
We did do a bid for these services about 2 years ago when that came out, and the county and JFK are the only, well, actually JFK was the only one who bid on us. The county, we went into a shared service via a DCA grant with, and they were just generous enough to grant us their services for this amount of time.
Thank you, Bea.
Any other questions from council members?
Madam VA, you mentioned that the response time is 6 minutes and 50 seconds. What's the national average? How does that compare?
Well, our contract holds them to a 10-minute standard. So they have to meet 10 minutes in order to fulfill their contract with us.
Other questions? Okay, do we have consensus to add this to the voting meeting?
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, those shall be added. Let's next move to Corporation Council.
Thank you, Council President. I have 3 items for consideration by the governing body this evening. They are all for additional appropriations to law firms currently providing services to the city. First is the firm of Renaud, Coughlin, and Cello to provide litigation services. It's an additional appropriation of $25,000. The second is to the Souter Law Group for an additional $25,000. And the third is to the McManaman Scotland Bauman Law Firm for an additional $15,000. The Souter Law Group and McManaman Scotland are both providing redevelopment counsel services. So it's litigation and redevelopment. As council knows, it's always a bit of a guessing game as to what our needs are going to be based on whether the projects or how fast the projects move and how litigation progresses. So it's customary that we come back incrementally to council for these appropriations. These numbers are all within the budget that was approved by the governing body. This is not in addition to any money that's been previously budgeted. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, questions from council members?
I have just one.
Go right
For
ahead.
Souter, are they working on the Joanne Hollis and the redevelopment for Richmond Towers?
I'll pass that one to Economic Development Director. Yeah.
So Sauter Law Group serves as our Winona Development Council. So they work on several.
Okay.
Should I repeat what I said?
Are they,
Sauter,
are they specifically working on that project?
no, currently working on the Joanne Hollis, we have Willents. They're not working on that one.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have consensus to add these items to the voting meeting?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, those shall be added.
Thank you,
Next.
Council President.
You're welcome. The Finance Director, you're next. Please present your items.
Good evening, council members. I have 7 resolutions for your approval. First is Resolution 399, resolution authorizing the adjustment in the public bidding threshold from $44,000 to $53,000. This is for goods and services. You might have seen one of these come before you earlier this year in July. That was for Comcast. Resolution 400-25, resolution authorizing the transfers between current year 2025 appropriations of the general fund and parking utility of the city of Plainfield totaling $346,200. Usually in November and December, municipalities make transfers in to cover accounts that might be running a little bit low, and that's what this one is for in November, and you might see one in December also. Resolution 401-25, this is a resolution authorizing the tax refunds on properties per the tax schedule, and this is mainly for a duplicate payment and an overpayment. Resolution 402-25, resolution authorizing the approval to cancel taxes totaling $26,397.68 on Block 248, Lot 4. This is a 5-year phase-in agreement, but the tax assessor was not made aware until May. So this property was overbilled on the improvement value. So we have to refund this. Resolution number 403-25, resolution authorizing approval to cancel taxes in the amount of $852.71 due to 100% disabled veteran exemption. So this is 100% disabled veterans, but this is a 2-family house, and this person occupies half of the house, so the 50% gets refunded. And then Resolution 404-25, resolution authorizing the approval to cancel 2025 and 2026 taxes totaling $14,070.56. And this is because this is the parking lot of a church. And finally, Resolution 405-25, resolution authorizing an extended grace period of fourth quarter property tax payments for eligible federal employees who are residents of Plainfield, of the city of Plainfield, affected by the federal government shutdown on October 1st, 2021. So this grace period would extend to February 1st, 2026, and anyone seeking to utilize this grace period would have to provide proof of qualification. There are certain things that they would have to, that make them qualify for this. Any questions?
Any questions from council members?
Council President, I have a question regarding R 400-25 on the transfer of funds. If I'm reading this correctly, are we saying that 40,000 was underspent in summer employment, and what is that?
That is true because we hire the summer youth employment program, and a lot of them don't do the whole summer, and so we budget for the whole summer. But if they leave after a week or after 2 weeks, then we have that left over.
All right, thank you. And community development, 21,000.
Well, we are saying that there is additional, we budgeted for the whole year, but community development might be running a little bit high. So we are moving some funds from community development to another area that might be a little bit lower funds. Not necessarily from community development to community development, but to another area. So we're saying that this 21,200, when we project to the end of the year, this might be a little bit high.
Any other questions? Follow up?
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead,
Okay.
Councilman.
Yes, how are we getting the word out to those who are impacted, who are federal employees about this extension here?
I'm not sure if it's posted on the website. I can check with the tax collector how we would get them out.
Okay.
But this is one medium right here where everyone would hear about it. And you can see if it's posted or not, and have it posted. But hopefully people that are listening would
Spread it around. Okay, all right, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, do we have consensus to add these items to the voting meeting? Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, they shall be added. All right, the police department?
Good evening, Council President,
Director.
council members. I have one item for your consideration, Resolution 40625. It's for the police department to enter into an agreement to purchase 3 new Chevy Tahoe vehicles from Nielsen Chevrolet. One will be a replacement vehicle and 2 will be for new purposes. I have vehicles that have high mileage, and I'm just transferring and aging some of them out.
Questions from council members? All right, do we have
Yes.
consensus to add this?
Question.
Yes. Oh, question, go ahead.
The transfer out the vehicles, who are the new police Tahoes for? Who they for? Just someone that's already driving them, or for staff? Who they?
It depends.
Okay.
Usually, we move vehicles throughout the city. I have several vehicles that I have in the police department. I have several vehicles that are on loan to the mayor's office. I have vehicles in DPW. The police department has vehicles all over the city of Plainfield.
Okay.
Generally, what we do is, depending on the vehicle and if it's meeting its need, whatever that need is, we'll either transfer a vehicle down in service, because once a vehicle comes to the police department, we usually are very, very hard on vehicles. They get in car accidents, they run all day. There's all types of situations that appear with either patrol vehicles or other vehicles that we have for service vehicles. So you'll see cases where vehicles may come from other parts of the city, then they're transferred back into my department, and then from that, they go down into other services. Or, like I said, they may go to DPW, to the parking authority. They could wind up all over the place,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
okay. And will these vehicles have a light package on them?
Some of them will, yes.
Okay,
Actually, no, all of them will, I'm sorry.
okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
That's it, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, do we have consensus?
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, shall be added to the voting meeting. Next, the Department of Public Works.
Okay, Director Dabney is not able to attend, so I will speak on the items for Public Works. The first resolution is a resolution authorizing the award of a professional service contract to Remington and Vernick. This is for the field grading at Milk Campbell, which is a project that has needed to be done for some time, and this is $59,375 of capital funds. The next one is another award of a professional service contract, also to Remington and Verdon, and this is for the third place roadway improvements for $62,500. This is going to be for third place from Crescent Ave to Carnegie Ave, and it's being paid for with the CDBG grant. The third one was just approved in capital the second ordinance reading was last month. You may have noticed in front of Black Lives Matter Plaza, there is a kind of a hole in the sidewalk there in front of City Hall. And this is an award to a contractor for $49,950 to fix that. It is a safety hazard as it stands. The fourth one is awarding a contract to Shoretop Construction, and this is for the Seidler Field Basketball Court Improvement Project. This was also a capital expense. On the next page, you have a resolution authorizing the approval of another award to a contractor for $400,000 for various properties damaged by the July 14th storm. So when we bonded for that $5 million, that was this $400,000 will be coming out of that $5 million, and next month we'll put forward a cancellation of what we didn't spend of the $5 million. But there were about 23 properties that were torn up or impacted by city trees that were uprooted on those properties. And so this money is to fix those properties. And then finally, you may recall that we got a $5 million grant from DOT a year and change ago. And this is a contract to the builder who came in at the lowest bid for the Route 28 project, and there's multiple locations. I could read them if you want, but there's multiple locations of Route 28 that are going to be paved and just made a lot better with this money. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council members?
Yes, Council President. Madam BA, 41125. Can that listing of the 23 locations be posted somewhere?
Yes, I mean, I do believe the 23 homeowners are obviously aware because they've been going out to the sites and, surveying them, assessing the damage, which is how we got this $400,000 quote bid. But yes, we'll be happy to publicize what those 23 locations are.
Okay, and then 408-25, the third place roadway improvement, which I'm happy about because I get a lot of concerns from third place, but third place and West 9th, that intersection, would that include also the painting of crosswalks? Because the residents are saying there's a concern about there being a lack of crosswalks and no yield to pedestrian signs.
It wouldn't include the signs, but it would include the painting.
Okay.
So the signs is a separate, if it's a new sign, that's a separate discussion, but it does include the painting.
So at the intersection of third place and West 9th would be a part of it?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Other questions from council members?
Council President.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Cherry.
For resolution R412-25, what's the timeline from start to completion for Route 28?
for Route 28. This is going to, well, they're going to start in the spring, and we're going to work with PSE&G and American Water to make sure that all of their work gets done before this starts. So this might not start until summer/fall, depending on meetings with PSE&G and American Water, because we first want to be absolutely certain that they aren't coming to service any of those locations before we spend this kind of money repaving them.
And I'm going to assume that the residents will be notified via...
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. What's the completion? You said summer, fall?
Summer, fall, and should be
Start.
done that season.
Okay.
When it started. It will be done that season.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Further questions?
No, thank you.
Council President,
Yeah, go right ahead.
Resolution 410-25, the Satterfield Basketball Court Improvement Project. Do we have an estimated time where that would be completed as well?
Well, the award is going to be granted now, but they probably won't start the work until the spring now that the weather has suddenly today gotten freezing. So I believe that it will be done in the spring and it will be ready for like end of school.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have consensus to add these items to the voting meeting?
Yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, thou shall be added. The Department of Economic Development, please present your items.
Good evening, council. I have resolutions 413 to 430 tonight. The first resolution is pertaining to free parking during the holiday season, so it would commence on Thanksgiving Day and would end on January 3rd. This is free parking for on-street parking. The next 5 resolutions are related to programs for the urban enterprise zone. The first resolution is related to the community shuttle. This would be a citywide community shuttle that would have a service that would operate for about 12 hours a day, each day. The next resolution is related to a program for our small business engagement. And this is to do outreach as well as marketing and offer technical support to our small businesses. The next resolution, which is 416, this is the administrative budget for the UEZ or Urban Enterprise Zone. This is related to percents of staffing salary as well as our office operations and some of our professional development related to the UEZ. 417 is related to our communications, marketing, and special events. These are to host special events throughout the city, perform marketing, also do some of our social media events as well. These events are such as our Queen City Street Fair, marketing throughout with our business, looking at this Hispanic Heritage Month, Juneteenth, as well as ongoing outreach throughout the city. On looking at Resolution 419, this is related to authorizing a lease agreement between one of the subcontractors for American Water. They are still replacing some of our lead pipes. What this would be is to lease out a staging area for the Montana construction. Resolution 420 is related to an easement for the City Village property that's over on 3rd Street. This would be an easement to preserve open space. This would only be for landscaping and making sure that we meet our open space requirement for a neighboring property. The next easement is also related to that same project, which is the City Village property. This is an easement just during construction. This is during construction pertains to the storm drainage. Resolution 422 is, I'm going to look at resolutions 422, 423, 424, and 425 together. These are all pertaining to the Plainfield Housing Authority effort. One is related to Richmond Towers. Another is related, Richmond Towers is 225 units. Another is related to Joanne Hollis Gardens, which is 128 units. These are combined looking at a community benefit agreement. Combined, their community benefit agreement will be $700,000. This will serve as our community shuttle funding. It will serve the senior areas as well as our Plainfield housing areas, making sure that we have stops that frequent the area throughout. For the community benefit, as council will allow comments, we do have present during the comment period, as a part of the requirement for the Aspire funding, we have our developer present as well as the council for the developer to answer questions during that comment period. We also are presenting as a part of this our pilot agreement. The pilot agreement would be for a 30-year pilot. This 30-year pilot would apply to both properties. It will be 6% for the first 15 years. Then for years 16 to 30, it will be 8%. Right now, we are not really collecting any tax revenue because this falls under Plainfield Housing Authority. As this is going to be developed, we are expecting to see for Richmond Towers over the 30 years, $13 million. For the Joanne Hollis Gardens, about $11 million. Looking at resolution 426. 426 as well as 427 is related to 115 to 157 East 2nd Street. This is a resolution of need. Initially, this was going to be a 90% market rate, 10% affordable. The developer is choosing to go 100% affordable and looking for support for both Aspire program as well as HMFA. Resolution 428, this is related to 611 West Front Street. This property is presented where we presented it to support part of the community benefit for the health center. This is to extend that memorandum of understanding while we are refining the redevelopment agreement as well as the financial agreement to be proposed as a later date. Connected with that, looking at resolution 429-25, there is a request to pull until the agreement is refined. And the last resolution is resolution 430-25. This is related to the designation of Queen City Academy Charter School located at 817 7th Street. This is to do an expansion of the building. It will go from a 24 classroom to a 61 classroom building with a gymnasium, laboratories, as well as a high school courtyard and playground. It will also ensure that there is parking for their expanded staff, where you have to have one parking space per staff, and that will be 72 parking spaces available. Any questions?
When is the comment period for the developer of the housing authority? Is that now?
Yes, they can take comments.
Okay. I had a question about that. So, one thing that I think is notable that, with the housing authority, we aren't collecting taxes from that, but now we're entering a pilot, which certainly is a benefit to the tax rolls. So just curious in terms of how that works out for any prospective developer to pay taxes on something that formerly the housing authority wasn't paying taxes, as well as, providing that benefit to the city, improving the the premises, the housing for those residents, there seems to be only pluses, but I'm just wondering how it makes sense financially for private developers to get in those types of agreements. Can you speak on that?
Sure, we have Wind Development here as well as their counsel, KL Gates, but I'll start in looking at what's provided in their financial analysis or looking at their pro forma. With their construction, they are going to benefit with the revenue for the construction, and it gives the city an opportunity where a pilot is payment in lieu of taxes to get a percentage of that revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, good evening. My name is Keith Kennard. I'm a Senior Vice President for Wind Development. And yeah, if there's ways that we could benefit, additional ways, we'd be happy to figure that out. But no, we're definitely going to benefit. We're in this business, Wind, to improve the environment of affordable housing living for everybody that we impact, everyone that we touch. So we're really happy, both Richmond Towers and Joanne Hollis Gardens, to be able to do comprehensive redevelopment for both of those properties and hopefully extend the life of those properties and improve the quality of life of all the residents that are there. In terms of how the developer actually financially benefits, it's primarily a percentage, a capped percentage fee, a developer fee for every project that we do that's built into the tax credit system in the state. So developers primarily make their money through that developer fee. Sometimes we'll make it through, in addition to construction, a percentage, but primarily it's a developer fee.
So a 30-year pilot is paid over that period of time. Who pays the taxes there? Is it the housing authority or is it the developer?
It's paid from the cash flow, from the revenue stream from the property. So the developer is actually the one that will will cut the check, but it derives from the cash flow from the property.
Okay. Any other questions of these individuals from council before they sit down?
Council President, a quick question. Do you see your development creating employment opportunities for our residents?
Certainly. We actually, when we were selected and in our bid, we put in the package that there will be economic benefit jobs for residents. There is a requirement for both Section 3 and MWBE contracting and employment opportunities. We actually have an outside consultant that this is all that they do. For every project that we work on, they come in, they'll set up job fairs, they'll communicate through websites, they'll communicate through mail, so that whatever contractors we bring in, both general and sub, ultimately look to hire. And what we also encourage is that if in fact the jobs can be transferred elsewhere, so it's not just the 2 years or 3 years of construction in Plainfield, there are a number of people that carry on with the contractors for other construction sites that WIN has throughout the state and sometimes in other states.
Thank you for that. And as a member of City Council, I would be interested in making sure that we receive that information about the job fairs so that we can also be a part of getting the word out to the residents about this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman?
Through the chair. Yes, so I have a question. So one, what is the estimated time for completion for this project? While the renovations are taking place, where will the current residents be housed? And when it's completed, will those residents that are there now be able to return back to these two areas?
Yes, very good question. So time frame for the project, pretty much most of next year will be spent in terms of finalizing the financing, completing due diligence, and preparing for the actual construction. Construction will start the latter part of 2026, so probably around this time. In terms of relocation, most of this, because this is acquisition rehab, most of this work will be done while people are in place. So there will be apartments that will be vacated and ultimately set up as suites to occupy for the residents during the day. While most activity is going on, folks will be able to return in the evening to their apartment. When it starts to get into the heavy stuff in their apartment, they may be out for a week or two. Some folks will be relocated to hotels if there's significant work such as 504 handicap disability work, but for the most part, that's it. I'm sorry, the third question?
Yes, so will any of the residents be displaced?
So no one will be permanently displaced. It's under law, everybody has the right to return, and no one will be permanently displaced.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, we appreciate your presence and your questions and your responses. Thank you. All right, we still have the remainder of the economic development agenda. If there are any questions regarding that, go right ahead, Councilman.
For Resolution 414-25, the shuttle, what does that 12 hours look like? Is it like a 7 to 7, a 6 to 6, or will it be split?
8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay. That was my only question.
Any others?
Yes, R 430-25. This is the expansion of the school. Did we send out, I know we had to send out a variance, 200-foot list. Did any of the neighbors contact the city regarding a traffic study and the flow of traffic? Because I know I get complaints now about the traffic in that area now.
Sure. So this is the designation. So the 200-foot list is always sent out. It's sent out by the city when we began the study. It's sent out when we do the redevelopment plan. It will also be sent out when they present to the planning board, where they have to present their traffic analysis and circulation plan.
Thank you, Council President. 414-25, you mentioned 12-hour days. Is that 7 days a week?
Yes, it is.
The $750,000, that will support 1 year, 2 years, 3 years?
So this initial program is for a year. We are compiling additional funding, such as what was presented for the community benefit for the Plainfield Housing Authority, support that additional years. Right now, we are planning to make sure that we're able to sustain service for 6 years.
So the estimate is $750 per year to operate?
Yes,
Okay.
3 shuttles.
Thank you for that. 418, the purchasing of bulletproof vests for our officers. If I read this correctly, this is the auxiliary officers. It's $100K. How many vests will that purchase, and why is the purchase over 5 years? Wouldn't they need those vests now?
Yes, we're allowed to apply 10% of our funding with the UEZ for public safety. So it's anticipated that this would be for every year, five vests. So annually, it's about 20,000. So then this covers 5 years of the vests.
So annually, it's $20K. And how much are the vests each?
$4,000.
It generally varies. I'm actually getting new vests for the auxiliaries I have. I have about 10, so I have to buy all of those. They're about $1,500 a piece because we want to buy the best ones that we can. These are volunteers. So they come out to about $1,500 a piece, so, 10 a year, I guess, $15,000, somewhere along that lines with prices going up. It'll be a little bit less than $100,000, but we wanted to do more just to make sure we had the funds if we needed it.
Absolutely. We want them to be safe. And then my last question is 42725. You mentioned 100% affordable. Could you paint a picture for what that looks like in terms of the types of residents that will be available and the particular cost for rent?
Sure. It will range anywhere from 30% to 100% AMI. Right now, the median area income for Plainfield is under $82,000. So what that means at 30%, it would be about $26,000 is your income that you have, meaning that your apartment is roughly going to cost about $600. Once you're at 100% AMI, you can pay for a 3-bedroom apartment, which, because this is affordable, will now go up to 3-bedroom. It's roughly going to be about $2,200.
And how long would it take for a development like this to go up? And I'll tell you what my concern is. Would we begin to start the process for people getting on a waiting list so that by the time it's actually built, there wouldn't be new residents who are now in the city who can kind of overplace those who have already been here looking to move into those spaces?
Okay. So for construction, the schedule typically comes out to 24 to 30 months. In terms of developing waiting lists, we are looking for a lottery system, but we haven't started a waiting list yet.
Thank you.
Any other questions? or
Yeah,
comments?
Council President, for
Go right
fourth resolution 430-25, the area is currently congested, and they're adding 72. Is there room for more parking in that area?
All of the 72 spaces are off-street parking, so they're creating a parking lot for those 72 spaces.
So in that parking spot, is there room to create more parking?
It would have to be.
Because that's 72 employees, 72 parking spots. And if there's a visitor, or if there's a student that wants to drive to school, back to school night, what happens then? Because the area is already congested.
So, hold on. As of now, they're only accounted for the staff parking that's there right now. And in terms of looking at where we're doing for additional parking, that would have to be a request made by planning board.
Thank you.
Council President,
Go right ahead.
on 43025, right now, as was just mentioned, it is very congested. And one of the issues is the drop-off and pickup. They have not addressed that in the number of years they've been there. How do we plan to address that with increasing the number of students?
So with the increase of the number of students, the charter school would be responsible for addressing that during planning board. What's being presented right now is the designation.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
R 412-25, could you revisit that again about the shuttle buses? Hopefully, when this plan is put in place, that we'll do this on a trial basis, do a short run so that way we can make sure that this works. My concern also is you have, on these shuttle buses, you have people that live on, constituents that live on both ends of town, the far end of West End and the far end of the East End. And so my concern is single parents, the working community, and doing this particular project on a trial basis for the shuttle run. The shuttle run, I have a very good concern about, and I know, I've seen the back of it, but can you just explain that a little bit, expound on it a little more?
Sure. So this wouldn't be just one vehicle. This accounts for the operation of 3 vehicles that would go concurrently. So we're looking at a frequency of each stop. It would be a designated route that each stop would have about a 15 to 20-minute frequency. That's why we would have 3 vehicles.
Okay, and I'm sure there will be some information to go out where they're going to meet up, because that PR&R is going to be very important, that it's in English and in Spanish, so that the residents will know where they need to be and what time.
Sure. So the entire route, as well as the stop and the frequency, will be publicized.
And I believe that using the marquee in front of the police department might be a place also you might want to advertise as well. Just a suggestion.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Do we have consensus to add these to the
I
voting meeting?
request that 430-25 be removed from the consent agenda.
Okay. Any others? Okay, please remove 430-25 from the consent agenda. Do we have consensus for all others to be added to the voting meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, thou shall be added. Just a quick note, if Mr. Thomas is in the gallery, his vehicle's parked on the police line. Please move it so that no traffic infractions are assessed. You're welcome. All right. Okay, would the business administrator please move to ordinances on first reading?
Yes, thank you, Council President. Before I do, the administration has a request to take R 399-25 off the agenda. It's already state law that because we have a QPA, our threshold is at 53,000, so it's repetitive. So we're requesting to remove it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, moving on to ordinances. The first ordinance that we have this evening is an ordinance to amend the salary for the position of mayor. This is an ordinance, this is a change that we can make only every 4 years. And we are looking to align the pay with the responsibilities of the position. As you know, the mayor serves as the CEO of the city. It is a 24/7, 365, exceeds full-time position, and that position is not eligible for many of the benefits that employees enjoy, such as enrollment in the PERS system, paid time off, holidays, et cetera. And so we are looking to change that compensation. The second ordinance is a request to change the salary of the council members. This is another salary change, and at the request of the council president and the council, this number has been changed from 50,000 to 40,000. So I want to make sure everybody is aware of that. A new agenda was sent out earlier today. The third ordinance that we have is an ordinance amending our code so that the Bureau of Vital Statistics will fall under the clerk's office rather than the Division of Health. Many places have it this way, and it just becomes much more efficient for us to have these documents at the clerk's office. The next ordinance that we have is a police department response to a quality of life issue that's been coming up, and this is for passenger vehicles that do not have commercial plates, but are big trucks with construction debris, and we're getting a lot of complaints about people not being able to see past them, et cetera. And so this would limit the use of parking those vehicles on streets. The next ordinance that we have speaks to what we were just talking about with the issue at the 700 block of Grant Ave and the traffic congestion there. This is an ordinance to have no parking during certain hours. Those hours align with drop-off and pickup so that we can help maintain traffic control in that area. The next one is an ordinance for adopting the amended homeownership small lot redevelopment plan. We spoke about this last month, and there was a resolution voted on to include this lot, and so now we need to amend the redevelopment plan for that. The next one is an ordinance amending the scattered city-owned parking lots and adjacent lots redevelopment plan, and this one is we have to add 3-bedroom apartments into this because in order to be 100% affordable, the building has to have 3 bedrooms. So we're looking to add that. The next one, 2025-53, if you lost your place like me, is a amendment to the JFK Muhlenberg Hospital redevelopment plan, and we're looking to allow for commercial storage in that redevelopment plan. The next one is adopting the redevelopment plan dated October 16th for Block 146, Lot 7. And this is to include educational uses and childcare uses into that. And finally, we have an ordinance for the transfer station. The rates for our disposal sites have gone up about 9 to 9.5%. This is a ordinance to change the rates at the gate. This does not impact curbside collection whatsoever. It does not impact bulk pickup whatsoever. It's just at the transfer station. And those are all of the ordinances on for this evening.
Questions from council members?
Yes.
Councilman Graham?
With regard to MC 2025-50, the parking situation for Grant, when I look at all the other educational facilities, the facility on South Ave and Leland, they have a very similar issue that community members complain about. Hubbard, same sort of chaotic situation when schools let out. Parents have to be parents. They have to pick up their children. I don't want it to look like we're picking on just this one school when most of our schools have the same exact issue. But with regard to this, I'd like to know, will there be enforcement if this ordinance is passed?
And a short answer, yes. We have this same issue at numerous schools throughout the city.
Right.
Working along with the Parking Bureau, we have written quite a few tickets in most of these no parking zones, and what happens is people begin to comply. If we write enough tickets or give enough warnings, people begin to comply. So we've had to do that on we've had to do that at Leland and 7th with that school. The parents have kind of gotten the message. I guess the school has some kind of agreement with Burger King. A lot of them park in the Burger King lot to go pick up their kids because they cannot park on the streets of Plainfield and tie up emergency vehicles and not allow them to respond to calls if somebody has an emergency in their home or their home is on fire or there's some issue such as that. So we're taking these steps and we're doing it we're doing one school at a time. We're doing an evaluation. We're seeing what the problems are there. We're looking at what we have on the books. If what we have on the books works, we're going to enforce it. If what we have on the books doesn't work, which is the case with the school at the corner of Grant and 7th,
Right.
we are changing the ordinances so that we can then enforce those rules to make sure the parents will comply, because we really want the children to get into the school safely, but unfortunately, we have a situation where, in some cases, parents just want to drop their kids off right at the front door of the school. They'll stop their car in the middle of the street. We can't have that. So what we're doing is we're doing each school at a time, but yes, there will be enforcement.
And bringing it back to Hubbard, Hubbard doesn't have a no parking ordinance on that street. You can park on either side with Hubbard. And what's so, I guess, special about Grant isn't it just as wide as other streets, or is it, narrow where this does create a burden for our emergency vehicles?
Grant Avenue, especially the 700 block, well, most of Grant Avenue between 4th and 8th Street is a narrow roadway where you have parking on both sides of the street. The biggest issue is with 7th Street being right there at 7th and Grant, we have parents who literally park their car right on the corner.
Okay.
They will not comply. So what we are doing is we're changing the ordinance, because if you don't park on that one side of the street, we'll be able to get emergency vehicles through, and we'll be able to address the no parking concerns there without tying parents up, as unfortunately we may have to write tickets. So that's the thing. 8th Street is a wider street than Grant Avenue at that point.
I mean, so long as there's enforcement, this can be successful. I just didn't want to feel like we were picking on this particular school when all of our schools have similar issues. And so long as we get enforcement, our kids will be safer and we'll have better traffic.
Yeah, we're looking at Rock and Front soon. Clinton School really is not problematic. We've gone through quite a few of our schools, but there are several schools that we have to address. And Hubbard, Emerson, Evergreen, we're looking at all of them. Stillman. We just want to make sure that the parents are safe and their children are safe and they're complying with the law.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, sir.
Other questions?
Yes. MC 2025-49. I know you were talking about the vehicles, but one of the concerns is and I know they're going to, certain vehicles are not going to be allowed in certain places, but the concern is the distance from people's driveways is a problem. I mean, they even do it by my driveway. It is definitely a problem, and that really, really needs to be addressed. Sometimes I come out in the morning, and there's a big truck there, and I can't see. And I'm a short person anyway, but I just have a concern of coming out. But, and many residents have called me and asked me, they say, okay, we're doing what we're supposed to do, alternate street parking when you're not supposed to park on one side. They said, but what are we supposed to do when people are practically parking in your driveway? And they're extremely, extremely close. So this is definitely a hazard, and creating these blind spots is a problem.
I agree with you, Councilwoman. This is one of the reasons why we put this ordinance into effect. It'll remove those, for lack of a better word, I call them Sanford and Son vehicles. They have a lot of debris hanging out of the back of a raggedy pickup truck that they have parked on the street. It doesn't have commercial plates on it, but it's being used for commercial use. We're going to get those off the street. We're going to get those box vans off the street, because what you see is a lot of these individuals park these vehicles on the street for convenience. They'll have a driveway. There won't be a car in the driveway. So the goal is compliance, not necessarily enforcement. We get these vehicles off the street, it frees up the vehicles for us to have regular parking on the street, because we're going to start with those. We're going to the construction vans. After that, we're going to these 18-passenger vans that are on the streets of Plainfield all the time that are picking up children from school. They're next. These vehicles are being used for commercial use. They will not be on the streets of Plainfield. So we're changing ordinances as we go to address the needs of our citizens.
Okay, all right, good.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council President, 2025-48, just questioning whether or not, do we need additional staff in the clerk's office with them now taking on these new duties, or are we prepared as currently staffed?
So the staff members that are currently, can you hear me? The staff members that are currently working in the Vital Bureau are going to come over, and then in the clerk's office, they do have their certification for that as well, so they'll be able to have oversight.
And what's going into the place of the vital statistics for the people that's going to come over? What's going to go in that place?
What do you mean, like physically?
Yeah, because so when they come over,
So they might actually stay in that physical spot. It doesn't mean that we're going to physically move them.
Okay.
We don't really know yet where there would be space in the clerk's office. It's obviously kind of small office.
Right, I was gonna
But
say
so
that.
they might physically stay where they are, but it's just under our charter and our code where they will report to.
Okay, got you.
Further questions?
Yeah, MC 2025-49, Police Director, I just want to say thank you for this ordinance. How are we going to, because this is probably one of the biggest, I get calls about this weekly, about vehicles being on the street. How do we plan on really, really ensuring that? I mean, I know that your police officers are really busy, right?
Yes. We are limited, but
Yeah.
generally these problems occur during the evening. Most of the complaints we get about this are evening and early morning. So what we plan on doing is, there's certain times of the evening where our calls for service die down. And that's when we'll tend to address these things. We've also been working with the parking authority. We've been working hand in hand with them. They come in at night sometimes, and they help us with what we're doing and trying to address parking throughout the city, because these are city ordinances, so the parking authority can write them as well. So it's like we have a two-pronged effort going.
Yeah. Is there any way that your department can get the word about how, parking on the street? Because a lot of our residents don't know that after 3 days, if your car is deemed abandoned, if your car is on the street, how do you get that word out? What's your plan?
There's a couple of things we can do. We can obviously use message boards, we can use social media, but we started a program where we've actually done some videos, where the department has done videos. We've done videos regarding four-way stop signs so people understand what to do at four-way stop signs. We've done videos with jaywalking. We can do those as well. We'll work with communications and address those issues and try to get the word out as much as we can.
Yeah.
Because that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I think now is the time, especially now because winter's coming, need to get these vehicles off the street.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions? Okay, do we have, well, I would like to, I'm going to ask for consensus to add these to the voting meeting, but MC 2025-54, I would ask to be separated, as I am going to abstain.
Council President, they all have to be voted on individually.
Oh, yeah,
so-
no, sure. All right. So do we have consensus to add these items to the voting meeting?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any oppositions or abstentions? Okay, they shall be added. All right, we're going to have a 5-minute recess and come right back and get to our voting meeting. Thank you. We now move to ordinances on second reading and final passage. Madam Deputy, please read MC 2025-39 by title and certify its legal compliance.
MC 2025-39 is an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Section 2 of the Municipal Code, Property Maintenance Code, approving the adoption of a revised Property Maintenance Code. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on October 15, 2025.
Floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak regarding this ordinance specifically. Hearing and seeing none. No one online. May I have a motion to close this hearing?
So moved.
All vote. Okay. Now may I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final
So moved.
passage? Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Roll call MC 2025-39, council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms. Yes. Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
That's unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Okay, Madam Deputy, please read MC 2025-40 by title and certify its compliance.
MC 2025-40 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union adopting regulations governing short-term rentals by the addition of Article 9 to Chapter 17, Land Use Ordinance, to be codified as Section 17:9-49E through 17:9-49E.8. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on October 15, 2025.
Okay, the floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak regarding this ordinance specifically. Anyone online with their hand raised?
Hello.
Hello.
And this is my first time here. I don't know what the protocol is. My name is Pamela Thomas, and I live at 1325 Watchung Avenue.
Okay, and you're speaking regarding MC 2025-40?
I am,
I'd like to
about
hear
the
your
short-term rental.
I'd like to hear your comments.
Okay, I've read the ordinance, and it seems rather punitive. Rather than assisting us short-term rental hosts, as we call ourselves, to continue to do the business we do now. For me, that is my sole source of income. I am retired, and that's how I earn a living to pay for the home that I live in, and et cetera, et cetera. I feel that the ordinance states that you can only rent for a minimum of 14 days. I find that that is not feasible, because most of the renters that we get, or guests, they come in for graduations for their children, they come in for funerals, they come in for hospital visits. 14 days is not a realistic time for them. They come for 4 days, 3 days at the minimum, most of them. And so it's just not a workable solution. The other thing is that the ordinance says that you cannot rent for more than 90 days, which is only 3 months out of the year. That, again, is not feasible, because it is a business. No one runs a business for 3 months out of the year and shut it for the other 9. So those things, and I find that I get a lot of visitors from abroad, and they walk around the neighborhood, and they come back with, glowing reviews of how beautiful Plainfield is. I think that we provide this kind of exposure that would otherwise not be there. We also bring in income, because Plainfield does not have any hospitality. We don't have a hotel system. We don't have a guest house of any kind. So people who are coming for, say, an example is a graduation at Rutgers, they would have to go stay in South Plainfield or Edison or Westfield or somewhere North Plainfield that has a hotel, whereas in Plainfield, the only alternative is an Airbnb, a short-term rental. In the same breath, we have people that come for holidays. They visit their families for Thanksgiving, Christmas. There's a spillover. Are we saying that we don't want that income? And that we would rather those people go and stay in one of our neighboring towns? Because they're not going to stop coming to visit their families.
Thank you.
So those are just a few of the things that
The time has elapsed, but you can
Oh,
come back
sorry.
during general comment and if you want to have more comments. You will
Thank
have
you.
another opportunity.
All righty then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rich Sudol, 313 Franklin Place, speaking about MC 2025-40. I've done Airbnb before. I don't currently have a property as a short-term rental, but in 2010, I invested in my town and I bought another three-family house. It had a stack of violations from inspections, yay thick, and as I went through being a first-time landlord, a three-family apartment, it was a nightmare. Bad tenants, lots of repairs. I didn't make any money. I just paid my mortgage and my utilities. It wasn't until I switched over and I started to do Airbnb that I was actually starting to make money on the house, and I was able to invest that money in the house. And the property I did is a Queen Anne Victorian, 215 East 9th Street, converted it back to a single-family house, sold it, and now it's a corner property. It's a shining example in the Crescent Historic District. But through my experience with Airbnb, this ordinance is very limiting. When I had the property, I had residents come in from everywhere. We have a plethora of large historic homes, 7 bedrooms. A lot of these houses have a lot of bedrooms. And people come in for the historic charm of these houses. They're here, they stay, they love the neighborhood, and they eat downtown. There's lots of restaurants. They love the diversity of the restaurants that we have downtown. So there's a lot of benefits for these short-term stays. We get people coming in for family reunions, for holidays, visiting guests. We don't have any hotels in Plainfield. We don't have like a big attraction. We're not Hoboken, we're not Jersey City, we're not New Brunswick, where it's very densely populated. You have hotels, you have Airbnbs, and you have some of these issues that you see with short-term rentals. We're not like the Jersey Shore where there's different attractions. There's no real attractions in Plainfield. These people are coming in to stay in because they're visiting people, they're traveling through. They prefer to stay somewhere that's not a hotel, get a different experience our architecture, our diversity of our downtown. So there's a lot of benefits that come into the city. And as a homeowner, it allowed me to restore this house and make my neighborhood a better place. So I think the ordinance is very limiting, and the fact that it was brought to a planning board, it went to the planning board without even being on the agenda, it was just presented. There was no public notice that this was on the planning board agenda, so none of these residents had a chance to give any input. I think there's some good aspects of having some laws on short-term rentals, but there needs to be a communication with the community and the people that do have run it. And there's benefits for both ways. There's benefits for the city, but there's also benefits for the residents. Some people that are using it as extra income, but then there's others that were investing in their neighborhood and using it as a way to fix up their houses. So I just think that there needs to be more insight into this and more communication, because there are benefits that the short-term rental community is bringing to Plainfield. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I'm Laura Kaiser, 1116 Lorraine. I'm also going to talk about that ordinance. As an Airbnb host, I feel this will hamstring my ability to continue. And I'm also a single income homeowner. It's a modest home, but without this income, I will not be able to keep up good repair of the home, and I probably will be forced out of Plainfield altogether. So it would be devastating, actually, for me. But aside from the personal stuff, I think that it's already been discussed that the community benefits. I get a lot of people who come in, visiting family. We talked about that. Sometimes it's family who is in an assisted living or a nursing home, and there's nowhere for them to stay there, so they have to stay in somewhere that's comfortable, safe, clean, and hopefully affordable. Airbnbs they tend to be affordable, and it makes it so that people can see their families. Also, we're always asked for recommendations, you know, a good restaurant, a good place to go pick up aspirin, whatever. And we're always going to recommend the places in Plainfield. So it benefits Plainfield economically. I can also say that a lot of times I get people who are in town because they're scouting out the area to relocate. Maybe their job has relocated. And they're thinking about Scotch Plains, Westfield. They come in to my Airbnb and they look around and they say, why am I thinking of that? I can just live in this really cool town, and they want to live in Plainfield. So they start looking for properties in Plainfield and they want to come and be part of our community. And I think that that's a real benefit that the town is going to lose. This will hamstring us. It really will, and it will make it so that it's not practical anymore to keep running these short-term rentals. So I would really ask you to just vote no on this. Thanks.
Sal Carano, 1284 East Front Street. I'm trying to get a handle on what is the purpose. What have you come up with that you've put this forth? Why? What's the problem with, is it a airbed? Is that the problem? Or short-term, how did you come up with those numbers? I personally would like an explanation as to understand it. One other thing that wasn't discussed is I personally know a number of workers that have come here during the builds, and they had a 3-month contract, but then it was extended another 3 months. Where do you think they stay? Where do you think they live? If they're working in the area that they're coming here, where are they going? And the people here that you've heard benefit from a source of getting people to come stay at their properties. So I really don't understand the angle. And aside from rubber stamping things, I'd like an explanation. Thank you.
I could go down. Evening, everybody. My name is Steve Romanowski. Also going to talk about the short-term rental proposed ordinance. I own the Corio Mansion on the corner of Central and Stell. I've owned it for about 3 years. I've been involved with it for about 6 or 7 years as an investor in it. We spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in renovating the building with enhancements, new infrastructure on the inside, electrical, plumbing, landscaping, you name it, we've done it. We're trying to make a good appearance in the area. We provide a service to the town, to the businesses in the town. I don't want to repeat what everybody's already said, but that's what we do. A lot of people in town rely on us as a place for their families to come in and visit with them during holidays, events. There's nothing else in town. Everybody who stays there comments on how nice the place was, how nice the neighborhood is, how nice the downtown is with all the restaurants and shops. They spend a lot of money here, which also helps all the businesses pay their bills, pay their taxes, and everything moving forward. I think we should reconsider some of the guidelines on the minimums or maximums with the number of days or the number of rentals. I encourage short-term rental properties to be permitted, to be licensed, to make sure we're all in compliance, have the proper insurance, have safe, modern facilities. I encourage that. I would welcome anybody to come over at any time to make sure everything that I'm doing there is all 100% and above board. Thank you for your consideration.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. I also own an Airbnb, and you know, with the rising costs of taxes, inflation, with food and PSE&G and all, I mean, this has been an extra income for me because the workforce they don't increase your pay just because we're struggling with all these other bills. So, you know, it's something that's been helping me with all the inflation and, you know, taking care of my family, putting food on the table. And also, just like everybody said, you know, most of my short-term rentals, they come, they visit family, they want to visit the town. Even people that just come to see New York City, you know, they'll stay all the way in Plainfield. And I have a booklet in my house where it recommends a lot of local restaurants to go to, and you know, so I just think it's a benefit for the city, and it, you know, it kind of spotlights the city a little more and more. And I hope you guys vote no on this ordinance. And thank you for hearing me out.
Nancy Fevar, Myrtle Avenue. I want to concur with what Rich said. I was at the planning board meeting, and for whatever reason, it wasn't on the agenda. It could have just been an oversight. But I did hear a conversation toward the end, and it got confusing to me. I do not own an Airbnb, single-family home, but there was a conversation at the end that had a little bit of concern because I wasn't clear if the ordinance also includes family members who rent from other family members. Because I heard a conversation that family members don't rent from family members, and that's not necessarily the case. There are family members that come back and live in their parents' home, their grandparents' home, and help them out. And would they have to also be included in this ordinance or not? Thank you.
Anonymous. That's how that works. You don't have to share your information with government. Fourth Amendment right to not show papers. First Amendment right to not allow them to force your speech. So you can remain anonymous. I don't know how you guys cannot be moved by what you just heard from all the residents, because I sure am. And I hope you guys can be an enhancement of their voice and properly represent them in the same manner, because you're talking about their livelihood, you're talking about their pockets, you're talking about their income, while we all have different discussions about what we're doing with income, what we're doing with salaries. And I don't even know how much time I have left because I don't have a clock. And I'll send all of you the links to a clock on Amazon, $10. Through the chair to Mr. Mayor, $10 for a clock. Yeah, it just burns me up. You hear these people, all of these good people come up here and tell you how this, and hopefully we don't even have to hear an answer as to why, because you should all vote no. Then we don't have to worry about what the reason even was, because this really affects people's livelihood. It really hurts them right in the pocket. And the big issue is like, we gotta like stop leaving things off agendas. It's a big problem here in Plainfield. You know, that's why when I came here on the 29th, it said on the website, general public comments. And then I got this at the door.
Focused on the
I'm
resolution.
relating the points about it not being on the agenda at the planning board. I'm trying to give you supporting evidence.
All right, keep going.
As to why it's an issue, because it's not being done properly. We're having non-compliance issues, Mr. Council President. And again, I'm going to repeat it. I don't know how you guys can't be moved by the speakers, but I didn't plan to speak on this. This doesn't affect me, but it affects them. Everybody who just spoke, it affects them. So I encourage everybody to vote no, because it doesn't even make sense. And if you do vote yeah, you're going to have to give them an explanation as to why, because it makes no sense. Every single point that all these residents made, I don't see how you cannot agree with them. So I encourage everybody to make the right decision and consider the fact that it wasn't on the agenda for the planning board, because we have to be in compliance. We have to be efficient.
Is there anyone online?
Not with their hand raised.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing on this ordinance.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Council President, can Director Fields respond
To what?
to those questions?
Okay, sure.
Okay, so just the overview of the purpose of the ordinance. The purpose of the ordinance is that we weren't regulating short-term rentals. So this was to provide structure for the short-term rentals. It was also to look at a permit process, look at an inspection process for the short-term rental. I want to clarify, there is no minimum in terms of the rentals. I think there was a misunderstanding where it says a limit of 15 separate rentals per year or 90 nights per year. So anyone can rent for one night at a time, and it could be 15 separate rentals, or they can rent for multiple nights at a time, 2 or 3, and they add up to 90 days. I also want to add that bed and breakfasts are excluded from this ordinance. So if you're looking to operate a bed and breakfast and go through the proper process of the zoning board, and if you are in a historic district of the Historic Preservation Committee, it could be allowed because it is not included in this ordinance. This ordinance also does not include long-term rentals. So if we're talking about long-term rentals where you have a family member that may be renting long-terms, this does not pertain to them. Council, any other specific questions that we need to answer?
Are you able to speak to the process question that was raised?
The process for going to the planning board?
Correct.
So the process for the planning board, for the administration, any ordinance that we put in, it was actually noted within the ordinance that we have to, when we're presenting it at the planning board. So that was actually a part of the resolution.
So it was presented to the planning board?
Yes. It was presented to the planning board, and it identified the date that we were going to present it.
When was it presented?
Presented at the planning board October 16th.
I just have a clarifying question. It was presented at the planning board, meaning that the discussion about it took place, but was it properly noted?
It had to be noticed in both the planning board as well as noticed in council. So when this ordinance was noticed, it was noticed.
Follow-up question. Is there any carve-out in the ordinance, and I apologize, I don't remember it verbatim, as I would not, but is there any carve-out around the owners and operators or host, new word I learned tonight, the host, if the host is also a resident of Plainfield and has their primary residence here in Plainfield?
So in terms of definitions, and I'm actually going to go up to the definitions, we have a definition for a principal resident, and I believe that's what you're speaking to, whether it's owner occupied, and also if it's a part of their principal residence. So there's a difference in the portion of the house that's occupied as the principal residence. Am I answering that?
Somewhat. And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question, because some of the feedback that I receive from residents who are anti-Airbnb, their concern is or was that because the owner is not local, there's all this traffic in and out the house, people aren't taking care of the property, They're concerned about the neighborhood. So I just was wondering if there was a carve-out in there, because if your primary residence is local, you also have the ability to see what's going on in your rental property because you're right here in town. So that's the only reason why I asked the question.
Council President.
Go right ahead, Mayor.
I believe that all of the speakers had some good points to make this evening. I also know that our Director of Economic Development has provided factual information as it relates to the intent of the ordinance. I personally, and my administration as well, we support Airbnbs. We think it's an opportunity for property owners to take advantage of an opportunity that exists when it comes to people needing a place to stay as they come to visit friends and family, or to partake in one of the many festivals that we have from time to time. But when it came to our attention that there was no regulation in the city as it pertains to Airbnb, we felt it was absolutely necessary to create legislation around Airbnbs. It does not mean for 1 second that this administration is opposed in any form or fashion to Airbnb. We support the industry. We just know that there's a need for regulation. And I believe that the Director of Economic Development has provided an explanation in terms of some of the concerns that the speakers had. And when and if this ordinance passes, the residents will continue to have their properties used as Airbnbs with regulations. And I would just say one comment to Mr. Romanowski. I recommend that you speak to our Director of Economic Development. Your issue is totally different from anything we're talking about here this evening. And so please speak to the Director of Economic Development. And let it be known that my administration supports Airbnb, and we believe that this ordinance is very timely. Thank you.
Any other questions or not from the...
Council President, I want to make a motion to table this, table MC 2025-40.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Can we have a roll call on tabling this? Roll call, please.
Council President, before the official roll call is taken, I just want to be clear as to why.
An ordinance to table is not debatable.
No, I'm not debating it.
You have to vote up or down.
I plan on. Advise.
Well, it's fine. If the motion's not appropriate, it's fine. But she has a question. She's going to answer a question.
Yeah, the reason for tabling is, my concern is that I support what the city is trying to do, but I think it needs amendments after what we heard tonight, and I don't think there's anything wrong with going back and taking another crack at it. It doesn't mean we're not supporting the ordinance. What we're trying to say is let's get it right the first time. That's all.
I believe what you should do is probably just change the language, because that's important as far as the Airbnb is concerned, because those who do have those Airbnb, y'all hold on to them, because that fight for soccer club thing is coming, and that's some money. Hold on to them.
Council President, just for procedural purposes, we got a little off track. When a motion to table is made, that is a non-debatable motion. So once the second is made, it goes to a roll call vote. Prior to that, there can be discussion, but that motion takes precedence and needs to be voted on directly. Thank
Okay.
you.
We have a motion and a second on the table as far as tabling the motion. Before we take the roll call, are you saying that regardless of the outcome of that, is it an improper procedure that we?
It's a proper procedure, but there's no debate on it. So basically, once the second comes, it is not, you're no longer debating the ordinance anymore. You're merely going, the proper move is to go straight to a vote.
Understood, understood. So that's where we are. Roll call, please.
Roll call to table MC 2025-40. Council members Briggs Jones.
Are we tabling it, or are we not?
It's motion to table.
Motion to table.
Okay, yes, to table it.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
MC 2025-40 has been tabled.
Okay. We are now at Madam Clerk, please read MC 2025-41 by title.
Council President, quick question. Just a point of clarification while we was on that topic. A few meetings ago, I had questions regarding an ordinance that was for second reading and final passage, and was told that I couldn't ask questions and was shut down. So is this the proper way to do it? We are allowed to ask questions and go back and forth, because that was a few meetings ago, and you told me no.
I'll do my best. When an ordinance is properly motioned and seconded, then the council president will generally ask for any comments or questions. That's the perfect opportunity. Only when a motion to table is made, that is a non-debatable motion, and then you go straight to the vote.
No, I understand that, but I was saying a few meetings ago, I had a question. It was the second reading, and I was told I was not allowed to ask questions. I had to do that the first time and couldn't do it the second time and was shut down.
Well, the only thing I can say, I believe in that instance you were asking for recognition by the chair and you were not given recognition by the chair. I believe that's what took place. At any time, every speaker has to request an opportunity to be heard by the chair. The chair has the right to either move to the vote or to not recognize any speaker.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay. Madam Deputy, proceed.
MC 2025-41 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, County of Union, New Jersey, adopting the 437-457 West Front Street redevelopment plan dated October 2nd, 2025. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on October 15th, 2025.
Okay, the floor is now open to any member of the public who'd like to speak on this ordinance specifically. Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing on this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-41. Council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Wyatt.
No.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
5 in favor. I'm sorry, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. Ordinance passed on
Madam Deputy.
second reading, final passage.
Please read MC 2025-42 and certify its compliance.
MC 2025-42 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, County of Union, New Jersey, granting a tax exemption with respect to certain property identified as Block 606, Lot 3, 314-322 East 4th Street, and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with 314 East 4th Street Development Urban Renewal, LLC, in connection therewith. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on October 15th, 2025.
Okay, the floor is now open to any member of the public who'd like to speak regarding this ordinance. Someone online?
Yes.
Okay. Whoever is online, your name and city for the record, and are you speaking regarding ordinance 2025-42?
Yes, indeed I am, and my name is Laura Miranda Brown. I just wanted to highlight to everyone that this lot was discussed in April of 2023 at the zoning board hearing, and it was originally proposed as a 3-story building with 26 apartments. The ground floor would have had approximately 1,700 square feet of retail and another 2,300 square feet of lobby amenities. there were only 34 parking spots, and the board's professional planner questioned the logic of such a mixed-use structure within the neighborhood, given the surrounding area's architecture and residential nature. It was also noted that the building would dwarf the building, the home directly beside it, and other concerns were raised. The project before you today is no longer 3 stories tall, it's now 6 stories tall, with 68 total units, up from 26. And now it has a ground floor retail space of only 750 square feet. The current application appears to only have 49 on-site parking spots with 20 off-site spots. My question to council is why this property needed to be deemed an area in need of redevelopment when the city was presented with a smaller project that was apparently equally financeable and why this much larger project therefore needs a pilot agreement with the city when, again, an earlier version complete with architectural renderings, visual aids, stormwater management, and all sorts of other things were presented. And even that smaller building with a smaller number of parking spaces did not appear to need similar financing. If the city's own planners were concerned with the scale and use of the structure as presented when originally shown, why are we not similarly concerned with this much larger structure? I really would ask the city to reconsider their position on allowing this pilot to go forward without really looking back at the history of the lot and why that smaller, more reasonable building, which was already deemed too large for the spot, shouldn't be considered. Thank you.
Anyone else online? Okay, I'd like to close public hearing on this ordinance. Okay. Madam, would you like to address any of the points that were raised, particularly the difference between the earlier project that was mentioned and what's being proposed now? Yeah, I'm not able to verify the facts of what she said, but to the extent that you know, and can shed some light on what was raised, that'll be
Sure.
appreciated.
Just want to clarify, there's a total of 72 spaces, and there's 50 spaces on site, and this was the one where we made sure that we included the 20 spaces that were going to be located on the municipal lot number 5. In terms of the other project, it's not an option anymore because they're a new property owner. What's being presented to you is what the current property owner deems as financially feasible. So that other project was not able to be built.
Any follow-up questions from anyone? Okay. All right. May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-42. Council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Wyatt.
No.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed. Ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Okay, Madam Deputy, please read MC 2025-43 by title and certify its legal compliance.
MC 2025-43 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, County of Union, New Jersey, authorizing a First Amendment to the financial agreement with North Ave Warehouse, OZ, Urban Renewal, LLC, with respect to certain property identified as Block 341, Lot 2, 336-346 Johnston Avenue, and Block 344, Lot 3, 768-900 North Avenue. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on October 15, 2025.
Okay, the floor is now open to any member of the public who'd like to speak regarding this ordinance specifically. Is anyone online? Entertain a motion and a second to close public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Okay, now I entertain a motion and a second to adopt this on second reading and final passage.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-43. Council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Madam Deputy, please read MC 2025-44 by title and certify its legal compliance.
MC 2025-44 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, County of Union, New Jersey, authorizing a First Amendment to the financial agreement with SRV Plainfield 3 Urban Renewal LLC with respect to certain property identified as Block 307, lots 20.01, 29.01, 31.01, 35, and 36, and designated in the city's tax records as 412-16 East 2nd Street, 218-26 Richmond Street, 347-423 East 3rd Street, 343-45 East 3rd Street, and 339-41 East 3rd Street. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on October 15, 2025.
Floor is now open to any member of the public who'd like to speak regarding this ordinance. Anyone online? Entertain a motion and a second to close public hearing.
So moved. Second.
I entertain a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-44, council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Cherry,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Wyatt,
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms,
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
That's unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Madam Clerk, please read it, MC 2025-45 by title and certify its compliance.
MC 2025-45 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, County of Union, New Jersey, adopting the Myrtle Avenue redevelopment plan amendment dated October 14, 2025. It is hereby certified that notice of a public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on October 15, 2025.
Okay. Floor is now open to any member of the public who'd like to speak regarding this ordinance specifically. Name and city. Floor is yours.
Nancy Pivar, Plainfield. I'm not necessarily against this redevelopment plan, but just for clarification and for transparency, and maybe I didn't read the redevelopment plan correctly, I do believe that the intent is maybe to assist the health center with a piece of property down there. However, in doing a little research, there might be an impact that the city may not be aware of, that the federal government has a continuing interest in that property since the health center did apply for funding from the federal government, and there is a deed restriction on a portion of what's in this redevelopment plan, and I did not see that in the redevelopment plan, and whether or not that deed restriction is going to have an impact on trying to redevelop that property. And as Ms. Brown said in the other conversation about the other, you also have to look at the history of that property. I'm very much aware, it used to be where the Poor Farm was located near there. There was a sewer pit, and I didn't see any environmental there. But my concern is, will the federal deed restriction and them looking at that, is that going to cause more problems for the city? And I just want the city to be aware of that and to do their due diligence. And if anybody needs to have a copy, I'd be happy to give it to Economic Development, or the city clerk.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll entertain a motion and a second to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion and a second to accept this on second reading and final passage.
Second.
Clerk, roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-45, council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry,
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Wyatt,
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Okay, thanks. We now move on to public comments limited to resolutions and motions being considered this evening. Total of 30 minutes has been allocated for the same. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. Name and city affiliation. The floor is now open. Kindly also mention the resolution or motion that you're speaking about.
Yep. Rich Sudol, 313 Franklin Place, speaking about Resolution R408-25. Just wanted to find out more about the workings of the contract for the paving on Third Place. I I know this summer they did first place and second place in the Crescent Historic District. I met with Director Dabney and one of the engineers in regarding to that, because there was a lot of residents who were upset that bluestone was being removed on the sidewalks and concrete was being put in. I met Director Dabney on site. We had some discussions. He was supposed to, the agreement was that he was going to save the bluestone because the residents in the neighborhood wanted to replace their broken bluestones. At the end of the thing, we emailed back and forth. Arrangements were made to have the bluestone sidewalks dropped off at the neighbors' houses, and then they just disappeared, and we were told they were tossed away. And I know a lot of the neighbors on Third Place, which is mostly single-family homes and residents that live there, want to keep their bluestones for the sidewalk. So I just wanted to make sure that when this goes through in the spring, there's communication with the neighbors on Third Place that, we're salvaging the bluestones in the historic neighborhood, and that, if anything's going to be replaced, we're not getting concrete like they did on the other ones. So that was my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Name, city, and resolution you're speaking regarding.
1284 East Front Street, Sal Carano. 422, and I believe 423. I don't know these gentlemen, so I don't want them to think I'm picking on them, but I just have a very straight question. If any of these residents were paying $800 a month currently, then they're displaced, may not be the correct word, but they're uprooted a little bit for a couple of weeks or moved around. When it's redeveloped, what will their rent be? Will it still be $800? I don't like double talk. It's a very straight question. Thank you.
Good evening, Quane Chambliss, resident. I want to look at MC, I don't have my glasses on, 2025-47 and MC 2025-48. They're both about increasing salaries of the mayor and our council. And let me say, I don't have a problem with people making their money. I don't run anybody's pockets. That's not what I do. But I do think in this economy, with what's going on with our residents, not only here in Plainfield, but other places, you need to give a good justification for not only a 50, I think it's down to 40% now, 40% increase, based on the amount of time that I see doing actual work that an elected official should do. We have a whole Health and Human Services Department that does the charity thing. We have a whole Department of Public Works that does the call PSC&G and fix the light bulb thing. But how many of you are actually sitting down? And by the way, you did great tonight. You did absolutely great tonight. I was shocked. Even Mr. Charles said something. You guys did great. But how much time do you actually spend trying to write an ordinance, trying to reach out to your constituents who an ordinance might affect directly and say, hey, this is on the table, hey, this is how it would affect you, and I want to hear from you directly. How often does that happen? I do remember there was a young lady named Ashley who was on this board, and after every meeting, she would call a meeting with her constituents, which I think was great. This is what happened, this is how it affect you, to break it down for them for things they don't know. You guys don't do that. I have never been invited to what am I, in the first ward? I've never been invited to a first ward meeting to discuss anything. Nothing. And I just don't understand why that happens. And I'm glad that you tabled that ordinance, because it would look real suspicious if you voted tonight to increase your salaries while taking money out of the pockets of these people. I don't own a house, don't have anything to do with me. But as the other gentleman said, listening to them give their testimony tonight, it kind of moved me. Because, Mr. Mayor, you always talk about the people who didn't ever want to come to Plainfield before you got here. Now you got people who want to come to Plainfield. You got people who want to invest in Plainfield. You got people who want to bring other people to Plainfield through their business. And now you're creating an issue or a challenge for them. That doesn't make sense.
Thank you so
You
much
gotta
for
make
your
up your mind.
comments.
Which one?
Appreciate your comments.
Nancy Pivar, Plainfield. First of all, I'd like to thank the administration for Resolution 405-25. I was a former quasi-federal worker, and I'm sure that any federal workers in this town appreciates the concern. It's just too bad people didn't know about it before today. I know that the shutdown did have an impact on me, even though I was a quasi-federal worker as a retiree. It's been difficult to tap into our retirement funds to move them around, and I had to spend an extra $250 just to pay my city taxes this month, and so I do appreciate you doing what you did and helping out the people. My other question is on 394-25, the EMS issue. I just need some clarification. So the Union County EMS is going to be replacing the JFK Hackensack EMS because they received a $750,000 grant from the city through the Muhlenberg Foundation back in 2003. So what exactly is JFK and Hackensack Meridian providing the residents? Are they just out of the picture now, or are we going to have two squads, or are we just going to have one squad? And the city residents do pay county taxes, so we being taxed twice now for the same service. And if so, does that mean that we're not going to get charged if we have to go to the hospital? Thank you.
So I wanted to quickly go back to MC Pamela Thomas, sorry, to MC 202540, the short-term rental issue. I'm very pleased that you guys have decided to table the issue, and I'm figuring that you're going to go back and look at the ordinance as it is written. And I'm sorry? No more?
Well, yeah, you can bring this up in general, but right now this is for resolutions and motions.
Oh.
And that's an ordinance? I know, it's technical.
It is, that's my first time, forgive me.
I do want to hear what you have to say. So during general public comment, please come back.
I thought that's where we were.
No, we're on resolutions and motions. I know, I know. But there's multiple options, multiple times where residents can come up and we separate it. But we will, I encourage you to come back.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sorry about that. Resolution
Anonymous?
you're speaking regarding, please.
It's going to be the one with the salary increases as well. I mean what I said about the clock. Before we consider a salary increase, we just need to get a clock. It's very difficult for me to make my comments without seeing how much
Council
time I have
President, the
left.
speaker is out of order.
He can run the meeting. Through the chair to Dave, this is not your time to speak. I'm speaking for 4 seconds, and I'm trying to apply my thoughts to the resolution, and I got you interrupting me. This is not going to happen every time I come here. And I want to say thank you, Council President, for running the meeting efficiently. That is one thing I've seen here. You run a good meeting, and that is disrespectful to do to the Council President, who knows how to run a meeting. So back to what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted. Before we consider giving an increase of salary of that kind of money, a lot of things just need to be addressed. My statements are related to the salary increase. I can generally say whatever I want and then say, that's why I'm against the salaries. This is very common basic stuff. I can say whatever I want and then just say, that's why I'm against a salary increase. I don't like the carpet. I'm against a salary increase. I mean, just give the 3 minutes of public speaking time. Please. It's an insane amount of money to be making. It really is, without at least a proper representation of the work that's being done. It's a lot of money. So, I want to echo what the one speaker said, is it would be interesting to vote. I'm glad that ordinance was tabled. Through the chair, I can't read. Councilwoman, I have such bad eyes. No. Yes. I appreciate the motion, and I appreciate it being second. That was the right thing to do, and I'll wait for general public comments. And thank you again, Council President, for running a good meeting. I do give credit where credit is due.
Is there anyone online? Okay.
I'm Ray Costello. I live at 215 East 9th Street, and I just wanted to refer to the salary increases. I'm not against salary increases. I think everybody should be paid as much as possible. They should be paid what they're worth, right? I just want to know what went into deciding the percentages. So I know that we had City Council going to 100%, but we backed that off to 60% increase, the mayor for 35%. If you could just give background onto why those salary increase amounts were listed. And also, I'm not clear on whether the jobs are full-time or part-time, and make that clearer. It sounds like the mayor's job is full-time, but reading the Plainfield TAP newsletter, it's saying that these jobs are also part-time. So I think I need more clarification as to what the salary increases are related to and why they should be in those amounts, and further information. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll close public comment in person and go to the online individuals. Whoever's online, name and city, and the resolution or motion you're speaking regarding. Please unmute yourself. Floor is now yours.
They are unmuted, but I'm not seeing it registering that they're saying anything. Would you
Okay.
like for me to go to the next person and we'll see if we can get the first person back?
Please.
Hello, good evening. Laura Miranda Brown, Plainfield. Thank you very much for answering my question earlier. That now makes sense as to why you're considering a different application, but I'm rising now to speak on ordinance MC 2025-55 regarding the transfer station, understanding that everything costs more, and not begrudging the transfer station needing to increase the costs at the gate. But I happen to live on a street that does get some illegal dumping, especially when it comes to construction debris. A neighbor, in fact, had to put down wood chips and a lot of other stuff to cover over some wet cement that was poured onto our street because it's just wooded. What is the plan, and how do we anticipate managing what will probably be an increase of illegal dumping of debris and construction in our parks and on our less heavily trafficked streets? And have we taken that into consideration as part of this transfer station pricing change? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else online?
Try the first person again.
Okay.
Caller ending in 149, can you try to speak?
Hello?
Yes. Name and the motion
okay.
or
You can hear
resolution
me?
you're speaking regarding.
You can hear me?
We
Yes.
can hear you. If you're
Okay,
using,
this is Gilbert.
Say that again?
I'm not sure if you're also watching us on YouTube. If you are, please turn off the YouTube and just speak to us on the phone.
Yes, I did turn it off.
Go right ahead,
You
please.
can hear me now? Okay. Brenda Gilbert, Plainfield. I want to speak to the issue that was put forth about salaries. I have a problem with that because, and I realize how the process goes, but I feel like when these salary increases are put forth, that we as the citizens of the city of Plainfield should have an opportunity to vote on such. We just came out of an election, and that should have been on the ballot to vote, number one, for the increase. Number two, there should be an opportunity for us to evaluate the job that you all do, just as anybody else has to go through a process before they receive an increase. We should have been allowed that type of issue as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. I know it's not going to be followed, but as a citizen, I want to express how I felt about it, that there should be an evaluation process in place to evaluate the job that you do. And because we have elections, there should be ordinances put on the ballot to vote for y'all to get increase. Y'all shouldn't be voting on your own increase. Nobody else in the room can vote for an increase on their job, and y'all shouldn't be allowed to do so either. Because when you ran for these positions, nobody asked you. You ran because you wanted to. So now, because you ain't making enough money, now you want to increase? Nah, not without an evaluation. Thanks for hearing me. Have a good evening.
Anyone else? Okay. Close public comment on motions and resolutions being considered this evening. Okay. All right, we now move to the consent agenda. Clerk, would you please announce the consent agenda?
Certainly, the consent agenda is identified as resolutions 39025 through 42825. Non-consent is resolution 43025, and withdrawn from the agenda are resolutions 39925 and resolution 42925. Again, the consent agenda is 39025 through 42825.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So, second.
When we have a roll call, please.
So roll call on the consent agenda items. Council members Briggs Jones?
Yes.
Cherry?
Yes.
Graham?
Yes.
McCray?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Sessoms?
Yes.
Council President Hockaday?
Yes.
It's unanimous. The consent agenda items have been approved.
Okay. Please read the non-consent agenda items.
Resolution 43025.
Okay, motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call on resolution 43025. Council members Briggs Jones?
Yes.
Cherry?
No.
Graham?
Yes.
McCray?
No.
Wyatt?
No.
Vice President Sessoms?
No.
Council President Hockaday?
Yes.
Change
Two
my
in
vote to
favor?
no for Terry Briggs Jones. 43025, no.
Let's change your vote to no. That's that's 1 in favor, 6 opposed. Resolution fails.
Next.
Oh, correct. 2 in favor, 5 opposed. Resolution fails.
Next.
Ordinance is on second reading.
Is that it?
First reading.
Okay.
MC 2025-46, an ordinance amending the schedule of salaries and wages adopted pursuant to Article 14, Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield, New Jersey, 1971, mayor's salary.
Can we have a motion to adopt this on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-46, council members Briggs Jones,
No.
Cherry,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Wyatt,
No.
Vice President Sessoms,
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
5 in favor, 2 opposed. Ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
Okay, please read MC 2025-47.
MC 2025-47 is an ordinance amending the schedule of salaries and wages adopted pursuant to Article 14, Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield, New Jersey, 1971, council member salary.
Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call MC 2025-47, council members Briggs Jones,
No.
Cherry,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Wyatt,
No.
Vice President Sessoms,
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
5 in favor, 2 opposed. Ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
MC 2025-48 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield amending Chapter 2, Article 8-2D, titled Division of Health, and Chapter 2, Article 15-1, titled Office of City Clerk, to transfer the role of vital statistics to the Office of the City Clerk.
I'll entertain a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, clerk, may we have a roll call?
Roll call MC 2025-48, council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Cherry,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Wyatt,
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms,
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
MC 2025-49, please.
MC 2025-49 is an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 16, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 5, limiting the use of streets to certain class of vehicles, 16:5-2, parking forbidden on all streets.
Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call MC 2025-49, council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Cherry,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Wyatt,
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms,
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
This ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
MC 2025-50, an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 16A, Schedule 2, no parking, certain hours.
Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call MC 2025-50, council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Cherry,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Wyatt,
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms,
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
MC 2025-50 has been adopted on first reading.
Madam Deputy, MC 2025-51.
MC 2025-51 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, County of Union, New Jersey, adopting an amended homeownership small lots redevelopment plan dated November 6, 2025.
I entertain a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call on MC 2025-51, council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
MC 2025-51 has been adopted on first reading.
2552, please.
MC 2025-52 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, County of Union, New Jersey, adopting an amended scattered city-owned parking lots and adjacent lots redevelopment plan dated November 10, 2025.
Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call MC 2025-52, council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
MC 2025-52 has been adopted on first reading.
2553, please.
MC 2025-53 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union adopting the JFK Muhlenberg Hospital Redevelopment Plan Amendment dated November 10, 2025.
I'll entertain a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-53, council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
No.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed. Ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
2554, please.
MC 2025-54 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union adopting the Block 146, Lot 7, redevelopment plan dated October 16th, 2025.
Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call MC 2025-54, council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Cherry,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Wyatt,
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms,
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Abstain.
6 in favor, 1 abstention. Ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
2555, please.
MC 2025-55 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield, solid waste utility in the County of Union, State of New Jersey, request the approval of adjustments to the utilities transfer station bulky waste, Type 13, construction and demolition, Type 13-C, disposal rates for non-residents, commercial business, neighboring outside municipalities.
Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call MC 2025-55, council members Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Cherry.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Vice President Sessoms.
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
Yes.
MC 2025-55 has been adopted on first reading. And that concludes ordinances on first reading.
Okay, a total of 30 minutes has been allocated for all public comments. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes, name and city, to speak on any topic at all. So I invite all those to come up, come one, come all. After this, we'll answer all the questions. Okay.
So I got a couple people I want to address. Dr. Sessoms, I want to thank you again for your questions. I thank you for posting that bill track. That's something that's important that everyone can do. Post the bill track so we know what we should be doing in terms of the state as well. So thank you for that. And in keeping with that, I wanted to know if the council could draft resolutions supporting, I believe it's Senate Bill 4713, requiring that charter schools, since you guys know that all of the charter schools are in Plainfield, New Jersey, nobody else in Union County wants them. For some reason, we think they're the greatest idea since sliced bread. So since we all have them here, we need to make sure that they are being upfront. We did find out that some of them were having some legal issues before we passed whatever we passed last year. But that, and the other one is S3, Senate Bill S3915, and that is making sure pilot revenue goes towards our public schools. Right now, it's not going towards our public schools. I know the mayor says the public school gets whatever they ask for, but that pilot money does not go towards them. So we need to adopt a resolution as Plainfield to support those 2 Senate bills. Zenobia, about the transportation, the 8 o'clock cutoff, is that the last drop-off at 8 o'clock or the last pickup at 8 o'clock? And have you developed a route for that yet? We already took care of the clerk in office and salaries. What is commercial storage? What does that look like? Is it anything hazardous? Are you talking about for people who have commercial business? What exactly is commercial storage at the Muhlenberg property? And how close are we on that bus? You guys made some really nice announcements at the senior function, but how close are we on getting that bus that is accessible? People can have their wheelchair ramp, you know, and things like that for Health and Human Services. And I believe that is the last question that I wrote. Oh, Director of Solid Waste, that's what I wanted to know. I saw some comments on Facebook about the new recycle truck and how the new recycle truck has the arms and it makes it. So how many men worked that truck before the new truck? How many men are working that truck now? What happens to those men if the number is not the same? I'm always concerned about employment.
Thank you. Hello. Name and city.
Laura
Floor is yours.
Kaiser, Plainfield. I wanted to talk again real quick about the short-term rental. The issue I wanted to say specifically, as you go back to look at it, is, for me, the limits to how many days or nights we can rent, and also the fee, the $500. It's quite a lot when you're renting things for very cheap. And I understand that inspection and everything else, that will cost some money. I wanted to also kind of point out that Airbnb, Vrbo, all of these are sort of self-regulating systems. They're crowdsourced, so there's reviews, and if you have poor reviews, you'll be kicked out of the platforms, or certainly nobody's going to come to your place if you've got poor reviews. And it also goes the other way, that guests who have poor reviews won't be coming to my place. So it sort of is self-regulating, and it's self-inspecting. So I'm not sure that we need to have that part of the ordinance either. But of course, you know, if it needs to be licensed, if it needs to be regulated somehow, I understand, and of course that would cost some money, but I just don't think it needs to be inspected to the extent, certainly not yearly. Thank you.
So I too want to speak on the short-term rental, and I want to say thank you, first of all, for tabling it, giving us a moment to breathe and to, absorb that there's a big change coming our way. And I want to say we're not averse to regulation. We actually think regulation is a good thing. But I'm wondering if there is any way that you can have input from us, the people who are actually doing it, so that you can come up with something that not only works for us, but is also going to work for the city. Because ultimately, we all live here. I live in Plainfield. I've lived there 30 years. This is my city, and I want it to do well. But I also have to live. So I want us to do it together so that it works for both of us.
Thank you.
Good evening, Sebastian Torres, Plainfield. I wanted to start off by thanking the mayor and Tap Into for a great piece of journalism that I got to read over the weekend. Okay, I saw the mayor open his door to the town. He explained a lot of things about his life, his upbringing, and his current position as mayor. And I thought it was a great story, a story about immigration, a story about hardship, one that I could relate to a lot. My father, for example, was a very promiscuous man as well. Perhaps not as prolific as yours, but he did not have access to a boat. So most of my siblings were kind of like nearby, not in South Africa. That is all to say that I felt very close and near to the mayor through that story, that immigrant story, because I myself am an immigrant too. But I had to take a step back for a second, because just a week and a half ago, I learned that Carmencita Pyle was still employed by the city of Plainfield. And through just my political education, I'm very well aware that politicians do tend to use identity politics to pull at the heartstrings of the electorate. Okay, so I did feel near the mayor at that moment, and I felt like he was one with me as an immigrant. But at the same time, I do have to question when people like Carmencita Pyle are allowed to keep working within the city, how true is the rhetoric about supporting immigrants? Is it just to pull at the heartstrings of the electorate, to relate to the electorate, or is it something genuine? Because if we have people with xenophobic views in town who have positions where they hold some kind of power, that is very problematic. Tonight we had a great commencement, right? We started off with this ceremony talking about pursuing and continuing the legacy of the Bookers, right? And you yourself said we have to continue this fight. But fights are not just these grandiose, like abstract things. Like fights happen within our own house. And if you're not willing to fight the racism, the xenophobia in your own backyard, then what's happening? I don't understand it. You know, all that rhetoric just goes out the window, in my opinion, right? So when we look at salary hikes, right, increasing salaries, that would be a reason why I say you shouldn't get one. Because how are you allowing these people to run rampant through your halls? It doesn't make sense. people disrespecting the community, people threatening the community. That's completely unacceptable to me. So I wouldn't recommend a salary hike in that situation, correct? And I'm here speaking on behalf of people that can't speak for themselves, correct? Because a lot of these people fear for their livelihoods. They don't want to go out. They don't want to go to the supermarket, precisely because of people like Carmen Pyle, who, again, is still employed by the city. So I just wanted to bring that up tonight because I think it's very problematic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sal Carano, 1284 East Front Street. Thank you for tabling that. Now, I have two opinions. As an advocate, I support Brenda Gilbert's comments. But personally, I support, again, not double talk, but an actual full-time position as mayor. Our charter doesn't allow that. I would suggest do the work. And I know it's a lot of work to change our constitution, so to speak. But do it. I believe, and I'm going to get some heat for it tonight, but I believe that the positions should be full-time. When you call yourself a city, I believe it should be. Now, this isn't about the person, it's about the position. And, however, the advocate in me says, it really stinks voting yourself a raise. Putting it on the ballot looks a whole lot better, but I do admit, as an advocate, you'll never get a raise if that were to happen. I mean, it's sad, but it's true. Thank you very much. That's my comment.
Good evening to all the dignitaries in the House. My name is Angela King. I am a resident of the 4th Ward. I've only recently decided to get myself involved in Plainfield politics. And when I bought my house in 1988, I thought I was moving to a residential area. I moved from New York City. The issue of the cannabis factory on Front Street has been addressed at 2 of the meetings, I believe. And even though my friend here doesn't mind the cannabis factory, he also says he doesn't live in Plainfield. So he doesn't, he doesn't have to deal with the odor from the factory. Like I said, when I moved to Plainfield, I thought I moved to a residential area. Now we have the cannabis factory. We have the trucks backing in there. We have the car dealerships, the repair shops, the Lord knows what. I take the bus, I commute to New York. I take the bus on Front Street and Rock Avenue. I can't even stand at the bus stop anymore. There's a car dealership there. They literally park the cars on the sidewalk. The Front Street, it's ridiculous. And somebody said earlier they feel they're being forced out of Plainfield. I think I'm being asked to leave. There is just so much commercial activity. If I decide to drive to Denellen to take the train, it takes me 5 minutes to get out of my block because of all the tractor trailers and the cars and the this and the, it is just ridiculous. I don't know if any of you guys have the time to come up there maybe 8:30 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning. It's ridiculous up there now. 6:30? That's too early for me. But it is just really, it has become commercialized. The other issue I've asked about before are all the garbage cans on the streets in the 4th Ward. Now we have alternate parking. And so I had a visitor to my home the other day and said, why are there so many garbage cans on the street? I remember back in the day, you used to get a violation. Your grass isn't cut, you got a violation. Your window isn't scrubbed, you got a violation. Now, I am sure if these people are getting violations and they're being charged, they would fix it. And also, you have alternate parking. So the garbage cans are taking up the parking spaces when you have to park on the other side of the street. It's just crazy up there. And I really hope, some folks can look into that. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Nancy Puvar, Plainfield. I want to follow up with what this nice lady said. I drive down Front Street every day, and there were a lot of those projects either went before the Board of Adjustment or the Planning Board, and I recently saw the parking lot on Front Street, and I was shocked because it doesn't look like what was presented at the Planning Board or the Board of Adjustment. Same like with the two car dealerships down there. It's not what I remember seeing at the Planning Board or the Board of Adjustments when they came before the board. So it really is an issue of following up, who needs to follow up, who needs to take the plans that were presented to the board members that spent all their time away from their families and agreed to something, and then we're left with a mess. So I would ask that you look into those 3 properties down there. Also, us in the West End, we heard on Facebook that people got notices about these new recycle trucks, so we didn't have any idea what they were talking about. And people came up here tonight about people parking too close to their driveways. Well, I could put my garbage can out where I think the city wants it to be, but the garbage truck is never going to be able to pick up my recycle can because the car's parked in front of my house. There just isn't enough space. The other day, I came out and somebody moved my can, but they park right up against your driveway. So if there's a way the city could tell us how much the space is from our driveway aprons to where cars supposed to park, that would help. And I think it would also help with the garbage pickup. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone online? Okay. Oh, come on. Floor is yours.
Pamela Dunn. I'm here about the safety for the schools, as you all already know, and thank you for looking at that thing with the Queen City. Do you think you could look at that before they decide to expand it? Because I'm a bus driver. I can't go down that street. It's ridiculous in the morning and ridiculous in the afternoon. If you could get the parents maybe to park across 8th on the other side and leave some space for you to get through to get to 7th, that would be really, really nice. And Abby, I'll talk to you after a council meeting because I need to know the progress and the status of what I gave you last month for the, safety. And please go look at the 2 on the corner of Plainfield and 8th. You're going to end up at the hospital with one of them. I'm telling you right now. Because either, like I said before, I don't know what training they had or they didn't have. You got 2 standing on the corner. One needs to be over here, one needs to be over here. Both of them don't need to be right here. Meanwhile, while they're right here, you got kids crossing. They're not even. Come on. I'm a big advocate for this. I'm telling you now. And the ice cream trucks, thank God summer's about to be over. Thank God for that. And then parking again, people parking too close to my driveway. I had to have an issue with the neighbor across the street. The police didn't get involved, but it was close. Consideration for your neighbor, that's what I'm asking. And last but not least, I know this is not a topic, but do you need a permit for chickens? I have chased chickens out of the front of my yard Friday, okay? Now, if I wanted to live on a farm, I'd have stayed in South Jersey, where my grandfather is. But now I got chickens coming across the street into my yard. Come on. And I do believe they're coming from 5th Street, so maybe somebody can go over and tell them to put them in a cage or something. Thank you.
Okay, anonymous. The first thing I would like to do is respond to the speaker who who was like making, I talk a little like this, call me the cannabis lover, talk about how I don't live in town, that one, making a distinction about where I live. I don't think that's appropriate, because it's like, well, the reason why I'm doing that is because when we start allowing that, then you're opening up a can of worms for everybody to start talking about speakers who are in the audience. To make a distinction about where I live or where I don't is exactly what's wrong with this world. We are all the same. We are all neighbors. We are all next to each other. Nobody is above you. Nobody is beneath you. I do want to say, through the chair to Councilwoman Cherry, thank you so much for smiling to me when I was here. You're the only person on the council who smiled at me and said hello. That's welcoming. That's how you're supposed to welcome people into a city. You don't make a distinction and separate yourself and then say that they are like less than. Their opinion doesn't matter because of where they resided. That's the point I'm trying to make. And if I have to do it in a performative way for it to make sense, I would rather have you hate me and make a point. Because if I was to do it, I'd be stopped right away, right? And that's exactly the response I was looking for, was everybody to do exactly that. How dare him start talking about somebody else and make a distinction? And I do want to say again, I like you, Mr. Council President. I like you. This is I've been all over the state, and I've been to many meetings, and this is the energy that somebody who runs a meeting is supposed to have. Very cool, calm demeanor. It's very appropriate for running a meeting. And you even smiled, and you're doing it again. I like that. It's good energy. I don't know all the players, right? And I will say, through the chair to Councilman Wyatt, I like the way you voted. I like the way you voted. You might be the guy on the council. I might have had you wrong. I think I might have had you wrong. But a big problem is that I don't know how much time I have left. And we're talking about salary increases, and it takes $10 on Amazon to get a clock so I can see the time, so I can formulate my thoughts and my opinions and respond with my remarks and have an idea. This is transparency. Transparency starts with the little things, right? We're all equal. We all are allowed to come, give our remarks, and it doesn't matter who we are, what we look like, what color we are, whether we're a man or a woman, or dressed like one if we're not. Thank you for welcoming me, Councilwoman Cherry. Thank you.
Council President, if I may, our rules regarding general public comment states that no speaker shall engage in any personally offensive, derogatory, or abusive remarks. I think mocking somebody's accent falls within that category. And I ask Council President in the future that he be admonished to not insult someone's accent in his comments. Thank you.
I agree. I agree. Let that serve as a warning. Okay.
We have 3 people with their hand raised
All right,
online.
please allow access. Public comment in person is now closed.
Caller
Nick?
ending in 942, can you unmute yourself?
The caller needs to increase his volume.
942, can you unmute yourself? Good evening. My name is Regina Harley. I'm a resident of Plainfield, New Jersey. My question is, there are a number of dispensaries in town now. Good evening. My name is Regina Harley. I'm a resident of Plainfield, New Jersey. My question is, there are a number of dispensaries in town now.
Caller, are you still on YouTube? If you are, I think we're having feedback from you. If you're trying to speak to us,
Okay.
please. There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Wonderful. So I have a question, and it's about the number of dispensaries our town is allowed to have. I noticed that there's another one opening up on Park Avenue, which is not far from Stillman School. Also, so now we have not just liquor stores, we have dispensaries, we have those smoke shops, and and dispensary. Well, we have three things now. So there should be a limit on that. You see, because even though you may not hear of tenants that just moved into the new apartments on South Avenue, people are starting to complain, and they're not going to renew their lease. So at the same time, while you're allowing these businesses to come in, and maybe it's for tax reasons and everything, it does have an adverse effect. And in the long run, you're going to see, some things that are, I've seen since I've started working in Plainfield and, transferred my job into Plainfield, that I saw some changes around the county building as I go for walks downtown at lunchtime. It's just a lot of things going on. The consumers of the products of these dispensaries, the liquor stores, the smoke shops, you have to think about that and the type of residents that you want to keep in Plainfield. You got a lot of residents, they're going to want to move out. They're not going to renew their lease if they come home and they expect a quiet place to live and smoke-free. And then, they're walking into their apartments, their brand new apartments, and it's just full of smoke. And all you smell is marijuana. Walk up and down the street, all you smell people smoking marijuana.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller ending in 149, please unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
You can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay, Brenda Gilbert, City of Plainfield. Okay, I heard a discussion about the cannabis. Well, the cannabis shops and the charter schools, they're going to wind up outnumbering one another, but that's Plainfield. What can I tell you? The second thing I want to speak to you about is the traffic study in this city. There needs to be more diligence put into the traffic study in this city, because what you see on the street is one thing, but what you're not seeing is what's beginning to go on in the backyards of the different houses when they're resold to other people. I had called the director to inform him about a situation that is happening because people do not have enough room to park on the street. So what some people are doing is they're buying these houses and they're taking the backyards and they're digging them up and they're making parking lots in the back of their houses. That part you can't see. So you have to listen to the neighbors. And I did call the director to show him an incident that's happening right in my own backyard, that I got to fight for my backyard because the people next door who bought the house don't have enough place to park on the street. So they dug up the backyard, took down the fence barrier, and we got an issue going on. So I wanted to know how to legally solve it. And the second thing is that there needs to be an open and honest conversation about EMS and just a separate conversation about that whole thing. There also needs to be a conversation about an evaluative tool being put in place to evaluate council and mayors before increases are introduced. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Anyone else online?
Last caller ending in 744, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, Laura Miranda Brown, Plainfield. I wasn't going to make another comment, but I want to thank the bus driver for noting how dangerous some of the driving conditions around the schools are. My children attend Cook School, and on Halloween, just before dismissal, there was a very bad accident right in front of the school. 3 cars, one of the cars was completely totaled. The driver was taken away in an ambulance. Really very, very scary. And it was, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes before the Halloween parade was scheduled to take place. So I really would request that we already have a really lovely crossing guard, and she's out there every morning and every afternoon, and she's diligent and careful. But I have seen plenty of drivers, not necessarily parents, just drivers trying to get to work on time, go around the crossing guard while children are in the crosswalk. If we could please ask for a little bit of police presence over on Leland to sort of stop that. We've got illegal U-turns happening. We've got, again, people ignoring the crossing guards. A little enforcement might go a long way to preventing a tragedy. Thank you very much.
Okay. That concludes public comment. I'll entertain a motion and second to close public.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, public comment is now closed. We now have an opportunity to address the various questions that were asked by residents throughout. So whoever wants to go first is fine with me.
Council President,
Yes.
I would like to address a few of the questions, but before I do that, the Corporation Council will respond to one of the comments.
All right, go right ahead.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Thank you, Mayor. There's been a statement that's been made over and over and over again that I just have to address. I've seen it in social media. I was said again tonight. It keeps referring to the position of mayor as a part-time position. I've even heard it referred to as being in our charter. That is not true. There is nothing in the charter, there is nothing in the code that says the position of mayor is part-time at all. And frankly, the position of mayor, as is of council, is not a part-time position. It's not a full-time position. It's a 24/7 position. I've never called the mayor and the mayor said to me, "I'm sorry, it's after hours." I'm sure, and I'm sure he's never done that with anyone here or any constituent. And that applies to every member of this council. I've never once had an interaction with council, and I'm sure you've never had an interaction with any constituent where you said, "I'm sorry, I've met my 25 hours for the week and I can't talk to you." It's a 24/7 job. It always has been. And there's nothing in our code, nothing in our charter that says otherwise. So I just wanted to address that. Thank you.
And that's absolutely correct. We don't work 9 to 5. So there's a number of comments that were made, and Anonymous said we're all equal. And I hope he believes that. The late Shirley Chisholm spoke with a Bajan accent, having been raised in Barbados of Bajan parents until the age of 11. And if you listen to many of her speeches, you would hear that strong Bajan accent. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, folks from Europe, folks from Boston, New York City, we all have accents. So to mock another person's accent is racist, and it has no place. You, sir, you had your time. Now it's ours. We have law enforcement in the room to control the temperature of the room. And so I wanted to make that point, that we are all equal, we're all human beings, but we all have differences. And so never poke fun at a person's accent. And to Seb Toy, it's good to be able to put a face to the name. I've read many of your comments. I read many of your comments on Facebook, so it's good to associate the name with the face. And I'm glad that you could identify with my story as documented in Tap Into, and I must say that David Rutherford did an excellent job, but just look out for the book. It's coming, Seb. And here's where we differ, though. You talk quite a bit about Carmen Cedar Pile. So many people in this community, and in communities across the state and nation. They talk about second chance. They talk about programs for second chance. People who went to jail, went to prison for armed robbery, for rape, in some cases murder, who have committed crimes against society. And we talk about second chances. And those people come back into our communities. And we advocate for second chances for those individuals, as we should, because they're very deserving. And Carmen Cedar made a stupid comment a couple years ago. And is she supposed to be banished to the pits of purgatory for the rest of her life for making a stupid comment? She, like any other person, deserves a second chance. She, like any other person, deserves a...
One person is speaking at a time.
Excuse me.
One person is speaking at a time.
Excuse me. You had your chance to talk. Thank you, sir. Okay, no. You had your chance to talk. Next, you get escorted out. All right. There will be no more warning. I'm not a politician. Okay.
And the next time...
Well, you played with him, and now he threw it back on you.
Who are you talking to like that?
Listen, the mayor has the floor. The mayor has the floor.
Play with him how? He was racist tonight, that's it. When you're right,
Excuse me, ma'am, you don't have the floor. Pa lady. Pa lady.
talking to, but we can talk afterwards.
We will.
We will. I'm giving everybody a badge.
Ma'am, talk to me now.
Mac, no, that's done. Mayor, continue, please.
So, the next time we talk about second chances, explain what you mean. Do you mean those individuals are not supposed to be welcomed back into society and be able to make or to be gainfully employed so that they can support their families? That's what I take second chance to mean. That you welcome them back into the community, you give them opportunities so they can support their families. And those are the people who can be described as criminals because they've committed acts against society. Carmen Cedar did not do that. She made a stupid mistake, a stupid statement. I'll be the first to say that. But that doesn't mean that she should be condemned to purgatory for the rest of her life. So I wanted to make sure that I addressed that. To Ms. King, who said she thought she moved to a residential neighborhood. Yes, I believe you did move to a residential neighborhood. The Fourth Ward has beautiful homes, beautiful neighborhoods. I'm not sure exactly which part of the Fourth Ward you live, but I believe you moved to a residential neighborhood. There are portions of the Second Ward, portions of just about every ward in the city that have commercial areas. And in the Fourth Ward, from Clinton down to Rock in particular, there's a heavy concentration of commercial businesses. But it doesn't mean that your neighborhood is not a beautiful, welcoming residential neighborhood. So I wanted to touch on that for just a quick minute. As to the garbage cans that are on the street, that is something that we have to address, and I know that Director John Louise is hearing, he's registering everything that is being said, and so that will be addressed as well. As far as parking close to driveways, this is an issue that keeps coming up, and so it comes down to enforcement. And I really want our directors who have the responsibility for enforcement to make sure that we enforce what is already on the books. There's a distance from people's driveways that you're not supposed to park. There's a distance from a corner that you're not supposed to park, whether there's a marked yellow line or not. And so we need to enforce that so that people are not experiencing some of the complaints that were echoed here tonight. And so I wanted to respond to those concerns that were expressed. And if there are any other questions that came up that either the BA, the Economic Development Director, or any other member of the administration would like to address, please do so.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we can address the rent question, so I'll give it to Wynn, but then I have more responses.
And I'll be very brief with this. The public housing and Section 8 laws require 30% of your income to be rent. The conversion of any RAD program, any public housing comes from public housing to Section 8. So the short answer is the rent does not change for any resident residing, whether it's pre or post conversion. Under federal law, 30% of your income is what turns out to be rent. And also in terms of relocation, whether someone's relocated for a day, an hour, or for 3 or 4 weeks, they all have, under federal law, all residents have a right to return to the property. So I hope that addresses those questions.
Thank you.
Moving on to the answer about the shuttle service. The shuttle service right now, we are anticipating it will go from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The 8 p.m. will be by the last stop. So we will post the schedule for the shuttle service. In terms of the commercial storage, right now it is planned to be mostly residential commercial storage, so things like furniture and so on. This is a question that will be detailed when it's presented to planning board after, should we go through second reading and we have the designation of it. In terms of our chickens allowed, so this is the responsibility of our Division of Inspections as well as the Division of Health. We all have inspectors that look at this. This is not allowed, and any address can be reported. In terms of the violation. In terms of the driveway for the impervious surface cover, that is also not allowed. It is a zoning violation. So if you have backyards that are completely paved over, they can be reported for their address as well. For the properties that are operating on West Front Street right now that don't currently comply with or are believed to not comply with the board decisions, whether it was planning board or zoning board. We have certain properties that are at different levels of completion, whether they are ready to completely occupy, where they've got a final certificate of occupancy. That's when they have to have full compliance. We also do have properties right now that are not operating properly under the zoning permits, and we are going through the process of serving violations, summons, and also other fines for them. In terms of the cannabis, we do have a limitation of our dispensary license as well of any cannabis vendor. I believe I answered all the questions. I'm just asking council, did I miss one?
Yeah, one of the neighbors mentioned something about Bluestone. I know the director, Dabney, isn't here. That could probably speak on that a little bit more. But somebody had mentioned about, just communication with neighbors regarding that construction and that paving. There was some talk about operation of the shared services agreement. And then there also was someone spoke about an increase of illegal dumping. I don't know if that's any of that.
Before I hand it over to Director Abney, I think he's going to respond. But in terms of illegal dumping or anything in disrepair or overgrown vegetation, again, that can be reported to the Division of Inspections. We just need the address, and we can go out.
Right, and with that being said, it can also be reported to the Reported app.
or to Plainfield Police at tips@plainfieldpolice.com. I wanted to speak about the speeding on Leland Avenue because the caller was 100% right. It was a terrible accident on Leland Avenue where someone was speeding down the street. So I actually had my traffic unit respond out there over the last several days. So I have an email from one of my sergeants in regards to this. I just wanted to let you know what we're doing over there. Besides looking at speed humps on Leland and also other traffic calming measures, we went out there and wrote some tickets. So it says, sirs, hope this email finds you well. Providing enforcement statistics of the traffic unit's activity on Leland Avenue between November 6th and 9th, 2025. During this period, we did radar enforcement for 10 hours, resulting in the following: 24 motor vehicle stops, 7 warnings issued for speeding, 17 summonses issued for speeding. Now, this is the important part. It's important to note that the majority of drivers stopped were residents of the surrounding area, with several living directly on Leland Avenue. One driver even mentioned that she may have been among the residents who initially raised concerns about speeding. Just wanted to highlight this detail so you may share it with the council people if they ask. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is this. It takes a community to solve our problems. Just like when you bring problems here to any of the council or any of my cabinet colleagues, please work with us. If you're not working with us, it's hard for us to solve problems if we find out that the person who may be, who may be bringing it to our attention is actually part of the issue that they want us to fix. So please work with us, and please remember that, because it happens a lot, especially in terms of traffic enforcement and speeding. The issue of illegal dumping is something that we have been working on throughout the year. We work hand in hand with the Director of Sewer and Solid Waste. I know there was a question that I'm sure he will address in regards to that, but I don't think the illegal dumping will pick up in regards to the increases at the transfer station. That generally doesn't happen. Most people who illegal dump they don't plan on paying for any of those services. They're just throwing stuff out on the road. That's all I have.
Go right ahead, Director.
I just wanted to elaborate a little bit about the automated service. The automated service is not looked at to reduce the workforce. It's a way to work smarter with the workforce that we have. There's other areas of operation that we would like to do a little bit more in, like recycling, litter control, things like that, where we can hopefully reduce the amount of workers on certain routes, because we all know that Plainfield is heavily populated, and there's areas that we probably won't be able to automate. So we're looking at areas where we can automate, and then other areas we're gonna have to continue to do rear load operations. So, but the big factor for me is, because we talk about employees thing, I'm very big on that. It's about employee safety as well. We all know, we've mentioned here tonight about the traffic and the streets. It's a very dangerous place to drive and work. These automated trucks allow our operators a safe environment to work in. So we're looking to increase our operations in other areas and reduce our safety for our, and to increase the safety for our employees, let alone the insurance benefits, because it's a very, it's a very physical job. So, workman's comp cases and things like that, we're looking to reduce with this automated service. So I want to make sure that it's clear that it was never our intention to put automated service into play to reduce the workforce. It's to work smarter. With the cans in the street, I know the mayor mentioned us about that, but I just want to further elaborate. We try to get out there as early as possible. We start at 4 in the morning, because a lot of people leave out 8:30 in the morning, so we're hoping to collect their garbage so they have an opportunity to bring the cans in. So we are on the look for cans that are out overnight, but there's times when you can't stay out during the day for a period of time because people are working. But if it's there the next morning, or if we get a call about someone that's abusing that, we absolutely will look into that. So I hope that I clarified some of the questions about the automated service and the cans that are located in the streets.
Thank you.
So I would like to quickly address the senior bus, if I may.
Yes.
We are also excited about the funds that we received or were approved last month. We are going diligently working on finding that bus, and we're going to work through purchasing. Unfortunately, the last couple of weeks, our focus has been changed, and we've been dealing with other issues that impact our community, but we are going to be 100% on finding that bus and making sure it's up and ready. You're welcome.
Any else?
Yeah, I'll speak on EMS.
Okay.
So you might recall maybe almost 2 years ago at this point, we entered into 2 agreements, one with JFK and one with Union County to act concurrently. We're still in that agreement with JFK, and we are continuing the agreement with Union County, just with a different funding source. So they will continue to work in tandem together to make sure that we have the coverage that we need. And then in terms of the county taxes, there are times where there are more than 3 calls for EMS services in Plainfield. And during those times, we rely on mutual aid. Our number 1 mutual aid provider is Union County. They still serve as a mutual aid provider, so they are sending more ambulances here when we have more than 3 calls at once. And so you are still getting that taxpayer benefit of Union County serving as mutual aid as well as one of your primary providers.
Okay. All right. Now, I don't want to close the meeting without saying a word about salaries, which is the elephant in the room. So, first of all, everything starts and begins with me as council president, because in the role, I have the authority to put items on the agenda or not. So even the presence of our salary increase being on there is because I gave it approval. So to be quite forthcoming, I think council people are actually worth more than what was put on the agenda. I appreciate the comments that was given by our council indicating that it's a 24/7 job, as well as the comments by Sal Carano indicating that, if it were up to a body outside us or some other process, that probably would never be, we probably would still be at 10,000 or whatever it was before I entered the council. But Plainfield is not Westfield, where we have individuals who serve on the council that may be independently wealthy and work for $1. But when I started this council, when I first joined the council, the vision was to transform the council into something that was more like a professional council, where you had individuals who took the job seriously, or the role seriously, the elected office seriously, conducted themselves with integrity and compassion, and listened to neighbors. And I believe that we have a council that does that. Throughout the week, the city has myriads of events, probably 5 to 7 events a week. Every council doesn't attend everyone, but most of the ones that I go to, I see a majority of council people there in support. It's not just one meeting a month, although this is the official part of what we do, but it's sitting on committees, various committees. Either we chair a committee or we sit on other committees. There's many meetings. All of our emails and phone numbers are on the city website. You can text a council member or email a council member at any time. It really is a 24/7 job. And let's, not talk about budget season, where it gets really intense in terms of the amount of work that's going in as we collaborate with the CBAC and making sure that we deliver a budget that's responsible and that works for the city along with the mayor and the administration. It's an intense job that we all love. What I'll also say is, so the average salary of a council member in New Jersey is about $37,000. I don't consider Plainfield an average city. I think we are exceptional or trending towards exceptional. And to have a professional council, I believe that the compensation is worth it. However, I understand full well the optics of the increase that was suggested. 100% increase, and it can tend to offend someone. So I took that into consideration when I decided that it should not be a full 100%, but that the council still deserves additional compensation. Someone also talked about metrics. When you look around the city and you see the improvements in the city and us being a responsible council, working with the mayor and his administration, the results are visible. Our credit rating is a credit rating because we've worked so good with the mayor and been able to work collaboratively that we've been able to get things done and do things for cheaper, pave more roads for cheaper because of the work that the council has put in. Finally, I'll have to say, there may be those who don't support an increase, even on this body. There is a precedence for council members deciding that they don't want to take any salary at all. It's happened just a few years ago where a council member decided he wanted to take $1, and that's fine, right? So when we're passing a salary increase, in a sense, it's up to, right? Because any council member can say, hey, I think that even the $25,000 that I get a year now is too much. I want to give money back to the city or the residents, and they can sign correct me if I'm wrong, you can sign forms and reduce your salary to whatever number you want. So I welcome council members who truly don't think that the money is meaningful to them or don't want it, that they can fill out the appropriate forms. So I'll leave it at that. I am in support of it. I'll continue to support of it. Again, I thought we could justify more, but I will be more measured in terms of the 100%, because I understand everybody wish they can go in their job and say, hey, double my salary, and it happens, right? But the position that we're put in is the same position that the county commissioners are in, that the state legislators are in. Legislators are the body that decide their role. It's unique with legislators. Obviously, people who work regular 9-to-5 jobs don't have that ability. So I understand when you look at legislators and them having to do it, that it can offend because it may not be like your job. But that's just the position that we're put in, and like many other times, we are forced to make decisions that are difficult. And, sometimes you just have to make those difficult decisions. So that's why I'm standing on the decision. And, I voted how I voted. And just, it is what it is. And hopefully people still love me. All right? So thank you. So with that, I'll adjourn the meeting.